Shin Young-woo sweats now, as he is desperately running, saying he obediently spent months just listening to them all. But right now, he finds himself being chased relentlessly. Some guy attacks him fiercely, but he just keeps on running fast. Wondering now, is he really going to die here? Now sadly, he kneels down in front of Asher silently, and says that Young-woo simply got far too greedy this time. And sadly, as he was thoroughly blinded by terrible greed, he betrayed Asher's trust even after signing the vital contract. That is precisely why all of this is now happening quickly. He further says although he had no real hopes for Yang-woo at all, he should at least praise his true tenacity that fully accomplished it. Yang-woo looks right up at him now and says clearly, even though he completed the most difficult quest itself, Asher is treating him like that now without any reward whatsoever. Asher looks at him in terrible anger and says he will grant him reward. For Yugo too, who tragically lost Asher's crucial trust, the only reward truly now is certain death surely. Yugo looks quickly behind and sees a man attacking hard with a sword. Yugo thinks sadly, maybe this is truly it for him now. To even think that this truly is the result. After pursuing a quest diligently for months, risking his very life, Young-woo realizes all this is outrageous now, calling it a shitty game indeed. The world's greatest virtual reality game overall. Satisfy, precisely with over 2 billion players worldwide now. It is a fantasy world so vast, so truly vast that it's another Earth itself. The lands explored simply cannot compare at all to the undiscovered one. And that place was just as expected indeed, in a certain unexplored area deep. Northern End Cave, truly the deepest location within the vast cave system. An area packed with all types of battle gear available, piled up high now, like an overwhelming mountain of loot. It simply remained unexplored then. Until a certain user finally arrived, discovering it first now ever. Just 1 hour ago, Young-woo was confidently on level 73 now. Stage Warrior then, looking rather happy as he found the S-grade quest item now. Legendary Craftsman's rare book explicitly for Earl Ashwar now here. He stands there truly thinking it was such a difficult journey that, and anyone likely would have quit the intense game by now that. An S-grade quest, one he simply can't even give up on halfway then. He wonders then just how many levels he did really drop, and exactly how many potions and equipment he lost then. To truly deal with that, he makes a plan then to never talk to Asher again, once he gets the Sun Sword soon. As the reward, he recovered the quest item clearly. Now then. Eye of Palladian is a highest grade appraisal item ultimately worth 5,001. Young-woo looks at it now, thinking it is damn expensive truly, and realizes this game company is making his greed unending always. He remembers the loans he has gotten, just because of this game now, but all of a sudden surprisingly, the legendary craftsman's rare book starts appraising rapidly, and it shows clearly that he has discovered a legendary item indeed. Pagma's rare book always. This is a book that contains the technique then of the Pagma here, the master blacksmith who transcended human limits indeed. By opening the book he can change his class now to Pagma's own. Descendant Shin Yugo stands there now, shaking now, as he couldn't quite believe he had a real chance to become legendary. He truly is so very happy now, realizing now that he can become the strongest, the one and only class. But then he suddenly sighs deeply, and then reminds himself he is there specifically to clear the S-grade quest, and it would now feel distasteful indeed to abandon the quest like that now, though he still plans carefully to sell the very book. A legendary class it should cost then at least a few hundred million. He vividly thinks about all the times he's struggled through. He has even currently been doing some quite hard labor too, due namely to the game price and his heavy school expenses, and the only true confidence he truly has about it is just his tenacity. But sadly all his friends then left him for being addicted to the game. Even his own family ignores him, thinking he's just a sore loser now. He suddenly cries now as he is truly overwhelmed, realizing fully the hard days of his struggle truly are over now, and is now excited truly to tell his dear mom, his dad, and his younger little sister that he has finally become successful indeed with the game's help. They sadly never liked it. He then tries logging out quickly as he wants to sell it off, but the game couldn't end yet, showing that the quest, Earl Asher's secret request now has changed to Earl Asher's anger outright. Young-woo stands there, visibly confused then, though Asher says all these people share that same kind of greed it seems. The game indeed shows Earl Asher's great anger, because Earl Asher is truly angry that he tried to take away the rare book, and now he intends to kill Yugwa, recovering. Asher says it is a worthy verdict now for such a traitor as him, though Shin is furious, telling him plainly to stop it now, as Asher even reduced his hard-earned reputation greatly, in order to reduce item prices overall. Though Asher simply tells his man to get and kill him now, Shin gathers all his strength, and as he fully knows, he is still just a level 73 sturdy player though. He still has things that are indeed called technique. He stopped the guy's quick movement with a guardian shield at once, but shockingly, the guy didn't get stunned there. Shin realizes if he truly dies here, probably the precious book will simply disappear then. And sadly he can't clear the quest, nor just log out. So realistically, he has only one choice now left, which truly is opening the book indeed. Before poor Asher could even do anything now, it simply was already far too late now. As now the book is opened, all stats and skills reset hen. Shin truly feels like raw power is overflowing now. And suddenly he has changed class to Pagma's descendant somehow. The legendary Blacksmith then, and once the class changes over surely, a brand new title has been immediately given to him now. One indeed who became a living legend now. Shin, now on level 1, smirks, wanting Asher to die quickly. On the other flip side though, someone calls the head, and a satisfied developer from SA Group. Lim Chio Hollow informs him a class change happened just now. Shin Youngwoo's level dropped by 2, so he's at level 1. Youngwoo simply lays down flat on the cold ground now, and he mumbles then that Asher simply wanted to kill him truly. So now really what is up with the face he's making killing people? Just truly because they got swayed just a bit? And he mumbles softly as if everyone is listening closely. To simply stop the game now and live a truly happy life. Shin Youngwoo then gets out now of the automatic machine, from which he actually was actively playing there, and he certainly looks pretty exhausted indeed now. His own mom looks at him quite furiously now, asking him directly if he even knows the real time here now. Satisfy's developer operating company is SA Group overall. The head closely oversees Satisfy's operation team directly. Choi Nahi warmly welcomes the head of SA Group plus develop, Lim Shio Lo, who looks pretty curious really, and says to her that the class specifically changed just 5 minutes ago. And quite honestly he wasn't expecting that at all, as all this clearly looks pretty interesting itself really, and tells her that at first he definitely has to check report. Later on then in the main office department overall, they all then can see Shin Youngwoo's detailed stat, and Choi Nahi explains to Lim Kielo that Shin's ID is named Grid, originally classified as a level 73 warrior definitely, now currently at just level 1 precisely. She further informs him directly that he changed classes, using Earl Asher's quest item, specifically Pagma's rare book itself. According to the detailed Intel Room's report anyway, he is merely an ordinary user now who is quite addicted to the game. His rather special achievements are only staying in the same city for a year, simply to raise his reputation somehow, and playing in a level 200 area 2 for 3 months, endlessly dying there. She continues flatly saying that, although Lim Kielo definitely ordered them to report directly to him, especially for legendary class changes. Looking indeed at that foolish and inefficient pattern, they can easily consider this just an accidental case alone. That is truly unnecessary to fully report now. Lim looks at his stats quite carefully, and says he personally thinks luck plus tenacity are good traits overall. On the contrary however, Choi Nahi disagrees completely, telling him straight that he gained the class really due to pure dumb luck there. So there's absolutely no real meaning at all to it, and even truly though she thinks it's a total shame there, as also the operations team leader obviously too. Lim says he is saying that this luck indeed is what he finds interesting, and then tells Choi Nahi that, as she clearly knows, according to the supercomputer data, Morpheus and also the development team's earlier prediction, the Northern End Caves location and Pagma's rare book itself were to be discovered in 2 years. However, that very boy, he certainly means Shin, broke all prediction, discovered the cave and activated the quest chain to get the book quickly, and so asks her, can those quest items really be explained with just luck? He adds that there is certainly another point that is interesting now, which is notably the minus level. Normally, the Asher quest is given out only after level 350, but this lower leveled Grid changed classes instantly, because he didn't want to lose that item. Dropping to level 1 is simply an extreme penalty that usually follows legendary class changes itself. Moreover also, the rules clearly state that the level drops by 2 if someone fails a quest now, and beginners below level 10 are exempted surely from that rule alone. But Shin became level 1 because he was in a penalty state then. Lim tells Choi if she realizes 10 stat points are given now per level, and Shin is uniquely the only level 1 user until then now. They need 2 level UPS just to reach level 1 from absolute 1. That means that Shin's body stats will be 20 points uniquely higher compared to other same level users there currently. And he further asks her if luck stacks now up to this point now, or if it actually can't be called sheer inevitability currently, and only if it's inevitability indeed. Could it possibly be related to his unique skills perhaps? Choi panics realizing there is indeed a disruption of balance truly in the game, and thus they desperately need to fix it quick. Though Shin Youngwoo actually tells her to not go that far now, and simply point out the very thing she said, that he is merely an inefficient user supposedly, so there shouldn't be realistically anything to worry about actually. Moreover, Pagma's descendant realistically is weak in combat then, compared greatly to other legendary classes now. He tells her calmly that he is heading back home indeed, and if there truly is something about the report, she should then call him at the employment agency now. Shin sits exhausted now and isn't really able to listen to the guy, though. The older man there firmly tells him to listen to the counterman, as he surely has to get the money soon for this job. Earlier people there quietly mumble that, as they all know he is a game addict and realize with one, as he doesn't look good at all after taking the money now. He sits outside that agency now looking intently at the money, thinking quietly this really should be enough for the game. He thinks that only paying more for the games comes now to mind, and now feels very guilty, as he truly was planning on selling items, making a comeback, really. But he just then lost a few $100 million in value. He thinks then that he kicked away his only chance at real success, and even wonders if he struggled just so his dearest love, 73, can drop right down to a 1. On the other hand, Lim Kielo stalks him closely in his car then, and while he watches him just outside the agency, he just doesn't see value in him, and thinks that's true, sadly. But he now thinks that that is his very greatest asset still, and he alone will have to realize that himself truly. Though Shin Young-woo then puts his hand on his face hard, and roughly smudges it in frustration again now, thinking he should at least have one proper skill alone, and groans now, wondering if he ever can do something properly still in life, though he really tries to shrug off these thoughts from his mind always, and plans on playing the whole game again soon. Lim smirks well, realizing Shin's tenacity is certainly too great always. Later on that very night, as Shin Young-woo sits in the capsule there, he plans right now on having another round of the game here. Even now if he loses, he should at least check out the new class at least, and thinks now that things should work just fine overall, as long as the capsule can still hold on tightly, as he truly is counting hard on this capsule that he decides now to do everything he can here to gain some profit from it. The full game now connects him to satisfy always. As he enters the game now and looks all around careful, he seems currently to not understand where exactly he is yet, as it truly doesn't look like yesterday's cave at all, and he wonders now if he got banished from the town completely. He walks around slowly, thinking he worked hard in Patron indeed to raise his reputation always, though he finds it unfair now that they banished him for a small betrayal. He moves further now to find a landmark to discover where he truly is. He sees a temple now and moves right inside. That place is pretty gloomy indeed, and the game even tells him that he has entered the Yeton Temple. Shin sweats now as temples are generally level 150 dungeons, so this is probably quite dangerous, because he enters this temple. His stats and info are now being shown clearly. There is now a skill usage restriction shown. The probability too of receiving the weekend status effect has become extremely high indeed. Shin feels if they are truly the stats of a fly, and he is truly now at 1 level. So it really doesn't look like a bug now, though he looks now at the option, like the overall probability of the item increasing now, he really can equip all of those items. Reputation also rising etc. too, and he finds them pretty darn good. He now thinks he could use enhancement skill to actually make money. As for these items, maybe he should truly try it out, and quickly as he chooses that option there. Mammon's greatest sword is then equipped with Mangal's plate armor set. He looks at himself, being notably impressed, as he then managed to equip that level 6 item that he indeed was planning on selling off, even though he still needs more than 200 points in strength stat. But the major drawback now are the penalty, as the penalties are then applied now because the item's conditions aren't met here. Mammon's greatest swords attack power plus option effects are decreased by 30% and even 50%, and also Mangal's plate armors defense plus option effect are decreased by 20% and further 50%. But still, Mammon's great sword has an attack power value of 200 here, and Mangal armor's defense value of 130 total. Since normal level 1 equipment's capabilities hover around just the 10, this is almost 10 times much better, even despite penalty. Shin Yang-woo kneels slowly down and looks up to the sky, smiling in great happiness, as he now finds it so very amazing, as really expected of a legendary class indeed, and feeling truly blessed too. He then realizes that if this truly is a level 150 dungeon here, then the area surrounding it must be surely a field of similar high level, and as he quickly looks around, he immediately sees a group of Yaten believers, as it is indeed a Yaten temple, and probably they all are casting some incantation, and just roaming around in that risky state would now be suicide for him now, as he certainly would die merely just by grazing them slightly. He bravely decides to quickly get out of there now without getting caught at all, but before he even truly turns fully around now, someone directly stops him. To defend himself he promptly attacks them hard with his sword, but the other guy urgently tells him to try calm down then, as he soon will end up only killing people quickly at that alarming rate, and then introduces himself by saying he is Earl Stein's own secret bodyguard. His name name is truly Doran, and then he says that seeing him skillfully hiding now, he himself soon realized that Shin indeed is definitely not on their particular side. The young girl surrounded closely by Yatten believers is actually Earl Stein's daughter Irene, and it seems now like she was kidnapped indeed during Doran's vacation. Doran now says all of it seems really difficult, though truly he is happy that a helper is there by his side now. He means Shin here, though Shin looks truly confused now as he never agreed to help ever. A new quest starts now to rescue the Earl's esteemed daughter then. Rescue all within 1 hour, clear reward 3,000 gold coin. Clear reward then of low chance of finally becoming the Earl's son-in-law. An absolute failure is level 2, Shin gnashes his own teeth then. Frustrated now, seeing yet another quest pop up now. Realizing now that the guy truly is an NPC, Shin suddenly now gets another new skill now. Composure here with a notice that stat points now cannot be distributed now. Lower now the probability of being affected by a status effect here, and really recover very quickly indeed from one then. Shin then realizes now he truly should quickly learn about his class's special characteristic. On the other hand though, Doran happily smiles and says that he is glad that Shin is helping him a lot, and really thanks him now for making that truly hard decision at last, though Shin still refuses him, saying clearly he won't help at all and tries walking away right there, though Doran stops him still, asking him urgently if Shin truly wants him to face all those black magicians alone now, but Shin just stands there calmly, unfazed as his current weak state is now because of the S-grade quest, and the mere 3,000 gold is simply a pity bonus. But Doran then asks him again, isn't he really a powerful person who can withstand the Terror's temple? He convinces him surely that without him, the vital rescue is absolutely impossible now. Shin screams out in frustration that he is only fine just because he got lucky, and furthermore if he fails again he will surely be back at level 3. But Doran persistently keeps begging him for urgent help, and adds he tells him that he himself is far too weak to rescue the lady. Instantly shockingly one of the Yatten men falls directly onto the ground, dead, as the dangerous quest is accepted suddenly too quickly by Shin. But he really doesn't understand indeed on whose authority it all happened. Doran tells him he is now truly an enemy of all Yatten believers, as he just killed one of them now and their enemies are all fanatical believers, who actively sacrifice innocent humans as dark offering. Doran firmly tells him he will clear the passage now, and will surely leave the lady safely in his hand. On the far other side then, all the men instantly start running towards them both to attack. Shin is clearly scared now to death indeed, as he soon finds himself right in this terrifying situation now, of truly tons more of men trying hard to kill them there, even though now he is fully well equipped here. His health now is only at a measly 34 due to the penalties now, and he truly thinks he might die just even by touching their breaths now. He simply kneels down low on the cold ground and cries aloud, thinking he only barely managed now to steel himself and make a comeback, and yet now everyone soon is going to kill him outright. But as soon as he looks up slowly, he is truly in a state of disbelief. Doran himself is fiercely fighting and killing all the men now. Shin's jaw just drops really, realizing he is actually moving so swiftly and very quickly indeed in this narrow space, and just maybe they both might actually survive this after all. But then he acutely realizes he himself might still not survive here, as he suddenly hears one of the enemy men tell his close companions to kill them swiftly. Doran now says to him they won't get anywhere just yet by fighting them, and moreover, that they were waiting to kill them all at once then, rather than doing so individually, and then he grabs him hard and pushes him now. Shin Young-woo screams aloud that he will surely die now, but Doran casts a floating spell quickly to avoid a crash landing here, and he says calmly to Shin that it must be quite obvious to him now, and further, that he is rather amazed at his remarkable humility. Shin quickly regains his composure then, and simply asks him now if indeed he has a skill that allows him to believe in what people say outright, and thanks him greatly that he got his breath once again, as quite frankly, he truly thought he was really gonna die then. Doran tells him plainly, if he is now truly thankful, then indeed he should go full power from this moment on, because in truth, this is where the Real rescue begins now. Meanwhile, those men worshipping there are now making fervent prayers to punish them all, solemnly addressing them now as wretched heretic. They continuously keep saying, blessed source of underground, gather thy deepest grudges here. Shin Young-woo, quite confused, asks Doran, what exactly are all these people chanting there? To which Doran swiftly replies, it is black magic indeed, and it's truly a pain now to deal directly with. But he simply won't wait for them all to finish now, and then cast his dark spell quickly, and throws knives sharply at the casters, killing some instantly. The remaining others standing there scream loudly, saying Doran is mocking their casters now and chant loudly, children devoted of Yetan then. Buy us some vital time as they absolutely must kill that heretic now. Shin stands clearly there, mouth widening, slowly saying, the magician mobs now should be around 150 strong, and yet Doran is facing them all on his own now, and mumbles quietly to himself that Doran is amazing indeed. He thinks deeply within himself that he might clear the great quest, using now just the NPC alone at that incredible rate, and then all what he can even do right now is just cheer loudly. He screams loudly, addressing Doran as his sunshine, and his hope indeed, and cheers him greatly that he definitely can do this now, though the men always chanting keeps chanting loudly, destroy thy wind, forget thy will now, and a soulless puppet thou shalt surely be. They are indeed already finished chanting now, and a truly strong energy gathers around Doran now. He screams with pain. On the other hand now, Shin stands there, nervously laughing hard to lighten the grave situation, says it back to give his cheers now, and says sarcastically too that he wanted to be a Yetin believer ever. One of the men laughs mockingly out loud, taunting, what a fitting end now for that annoying insect. But Doran suddenly calls upon Steam's shadow, Doran clearly, and further says then that he is merely completing his mission, as the sword that guards the family emblem well, and with another level of determination here, fights back hard the energy gathered all around him. Shin is stunned and is left speechless now as Doran dispels the black magic and wonders now if he is a named NPC instead. The named NPCs are famous ones, or skilled characters who have such important roles. All those men then start pre-preparing a spell all over again. Doran's however, refuses clearly that the fanatics who have laid their hands upon the stem family, there is no such thing exactly as again ever, but as he casts his spell now and sends knives towards them all, they all fiercely protect themselves with magical shields now. Doran is frustrated greatly, and his frustration doubles quickly as Shin Young-woo says, they have such wonderfully good fortune here for today. All of a sudden now they hear footsteps approaching. It is a lady. Her dramatic entrance stops the ongoing battle momentarily, and she firmly says that they absolutely will have to give up this offering now, and for the coming days, it is her very own S-grade quest, to defend this sacrifice. She smirks knowingly, saying to think that she will soon face a named NPC like Doran here. This is certainly her first truly exciting quest after such a long time, and she pointedly asks him if he will be indeed a worthy adversary to her skill. Yura though, specifically, Yura keenly can see Shin Young-woo's current state and the quest's present situation overall. Erlstein's very only child is a beautiful and perfectly chaste lady called Irene now. The Yatong believers viciously kidnapped Irene now, to offer the sacred virgin up to God. Clear requirements here. Rescue Irene swiftly within just 1 hour after accepting the quest now. Earl's son-in-law's nobility stats will be fully available here now. All stats 20+, he will indeed be treated now as a Viscount full. Power and honor overall will be greatly raised now. He certainly can advance swiftly into the social circle of the nobles now, and surely he will receive a monthly salary here. And this path would be a shortcut for a higher rank now. But the quest failure definitely will make his level drop by 2. Yura, indeed the Blood Witch, is in fact a Korean player, known quite well for being the #1 black magician now, and currently ranking 5th in the unified rankings itself. She is also, definitely a bit of a celebrity, who appears frequently also on TV, due to her beauty and spectacular gaming skills, simply superb. Thinking that one of the intruders is Doran too, Yura is greatly surprised meanwhile then. Young-woo and Doran wonder what a top-ranked player, Yura, is doing. Famous indeed for her great control of black magic now, is doing here all of a sudden, without any warning. Yura casts a dark spell and a massive blast fully erupts then, filling the whole area with smoke and shaking the ground greatly. When the air clears and the smoke gently settles now, Yura asks Young-woo directly if he is the one indeed who activated that quest. Young-woo just feels utterly clueless, as he really doesn't understand what she's talking about now. She then adds that this place alone was where she could test all her new skills well, without being bothered now, but thanks indeed to it, she now has a chance then at a rare, real quest. Furthermore still, she asks Young-woo if this quest now isn't too challenging yet. With his basic gear, Young-woo then narrows his eyes now, and realizes then that Yura got his level quite wrong here. But as indeed expected of a true ranker, she's really quite perceptive indeed. However, there's no real need to despair yet now. With a sly smirk now, Young-woo suggests Yura shouldn't get ahead, pointing out now that Doran is this named NPC still. Yura replies calmly that she is fully aware of Doran's ability, but she's also precisely a level 230, so she'll then manage it soon in an instant. Doran firmly suggests attacking now, saying always that one should never hesitate in true battle, because the quicker they all move, the higher then their chances of final victory. Yura now raises her hand high to cast a spell, mentioning clearly that, as is expected now of a veteran NPC, having gone through 3 classes. Doran is quite strong indeed, to which Doran responds quickly, suggesting now to see if she herself can be swift after all this, but quickly realizes that his own legs are stuck by the magical vines now, created solely by her powerful spell. However, as is to be expected surely from Doran with his powerful gear, he finally manages to free himself now from those magical vines, and angrily says that these petty tricks won't work now on it. He fiercely slashes through the restricting magic vine, and then declares that he'll be swiftly returning what's hers, chopping the vines up and then throwing all the pieces back toward her. Yura instantly moves her sword deftly through the air, then making herself quite safe from the flying chunks now, and simply says that she's very impressed by just how he is still able to put up quite a fight, to which angry Doran swiftly replied that he still has enough strength left now to take her down. Just then, the very air starts crackling intensely around them all, and the ground starts shaking hard as Yura casts her strongest spell now. Seeing this unfold, Doran remarks sharply that her previous spells were just a ruse. Yura then says that since he won't back down now, she'll have to kill him, summoning massive power. Magical vines then pierce his limbs and other vital organs of his body, causing dark blood to flow freely from his injured body now. Seeing all this now, Youngwoo starts panicking intensely too, realizing quickly that the game will be over for him then as well, if Doran indeed doesn't survive this onslaught. Yura mentions coldly that it's a skill fueled by 30% of her total mana, and with this ultimate move, it's truly time to end all things right now. Just then suddenly, a strong magical shield appears clearly from Doran's ring, protecting him well. He breaks completely free from her potent spell, telling Yura just how arrogant she truly is, and then addresses her as a mere young black magician now. He sharply shows her now his ring, and states that he will surely show her the very power that has protected his liege for centuries now, leaving Yura in complete utter shock. Wonders just how he broke free from a level 2 on 20 mesmerized skill now. Youngwoo was equally shocked completely, asks now what just happened there and if he's alright at all. Doran explains that it's all thankfully thanks to that ring there, which activates swiftly in times of danger of course. It's not truly perfect yet but it shields him well from curses and heals any injury. Youngwoo is greedy now, asks quickly now for that ring. Doran narrows his eyes and says to him it's a bold request truly. After all that, he suggests to Youngwoo that they really must hurry, as the ring just won't hold Yura off forever it seems. They both now rush quickly to corner her well. Yura realizes then that he certainly isn't an easy opponent at all and decides to save her own trump card carefully for later use, using quite high-tier magic to finish him off completely. Shin hesitates now, realizing the warrior player is the only variable. He just can't deal with it but wonders greatly, what now can a scared low-level player possibly do now in such an advanced field that he looks sharply toward the NPCs and wonders how they have already responded. Shin shouts loudly and tells Doran now those cult fanatics are back again. Yura simply wonders then if indeed they are trying to clear the quest relying on an NPC now. She calls them amateurs indeed and, without wasting any chance, casts then her strongest dark magic spell still. She asks Doran directly how he can look elsewhere now, in the very presence of the strongest spell found in dark magic itself. A horrible dark storm indeed appears now. Doran and Yangwoo both are startled by her strongest spell definitely, and palpable fear is clearly visible now on their faces. Waves of deep disappointment rush swiftly over them. The strong wind rumbles loudly, and a strong splash appears in air now from the dark storm. Later, after all the destruction caused directly by that spell, Yura realizes now that maybe the move was a bit too strong surely, and indeed that the temple can't possibly withstand such force maybe, but she firmly assures herself it's better surely safe than sorry that they can't possibly have survived now. As all the wind settles, and smoke clearly clears then, Youngwoo and Doran now appear slowly. Seeing both of them sweat, it runs right down Yura's face now, as she then wonders just how they could still be alive at all. There's absolutely no way she wouldn't recognize such an advanced player there. She thinks, starting now to wonder just who that guy is with a pop-up. Appears then, saying Youngwoo's HP level is now just 1, making him clearly realize that his health has gone down to its lowest. This shows he was definitely hit, but then it hits him that he's safe really, due to immortality when health points are, indeed, at their lowest point. Damage, remarkably, is neutralized fully for 5 seconds flat. Youngwoo smiles widely as he realizes completely that he is alive now, which truly makes Yura deeply question it, how she even thought he was just some level 80 player only. She wonders now if he is smiling directly at her right now, and just how she couldn't easily recognize such an advanced player ever. Just at that moment, Doran hits Youngwoo squarely, using then his back to jump way up into the air to attack Yura too, warning her very clearly that this is indeed why he told her fastest one wins. But Yura, on the other hand right now, casts intently her spell immediately to attack him right back now, suggesting firmly he shouldn't underestimate her ever as he hasn't won quite yet. In that instant now, She creates a quick diamond barrier right around herself for full protection. Doran remains completely unbothered indeed. He comments on how she still indeed has tricks left now to use against him, and then destroys the entire strong barrier completely. Yura quickly panics and struggles mightily. She's realizing she simply can't hang on much longer here. She now needs to deal with that player soon before it's too very late. Just then the whole large field empties fast, and as the smoke finally settles, Yura startles then, wondering if he just truly left her. She then thinks about just how strong he really was, yet he clearly didn't even lift a single finger there to fight. She has absolutely no idea Doran now is standing right behind her now, as she continues still wondering now about that other player. Meanwhile Youngwoo is truly depressed now inside his pod, as the pop-up from the system soon announces his character now has died. He unfortunately has lost 2 entire levels, and he is now level 3, having sadly died twice in just the last 24 hours. He simply cannot log in now for the next long 12 hours. Suddenly it really hits his mind that Doran pushes him to truly use his bat, and alas, that was indeed the moment he died. Furious now, he starts bitterly cursing Doran's name. Back on the field, Yura is still clearly annoyed now, realizing now that Doran left to yield the quest fully to her. She gets furious indeed and wonders how he dared to pity her, as if she were merely a second-rate player now. She mutters darkly to herself, "I'll get you for this affront." The next day dawns, the game community stirred by a new player, a mysterious player, who soon becomes known as the ghost of Yatten Church itself. Youngwoo sits there in his pod, still greatly annoyed over Doran, cursing him roundly for forcing him into a quest, then killing him off. He simply disbelieves how an NPC could kill a real player now, when he was supposed to actually help you instead. Youngwoo realizes then it all happened because of Yura. Everything would have been absolutely fine if it weren't for her alone. However now, he suddenly changes his mind now, thinking it's a game indeed where only the strongest survive. Calming himself slowly down a bit, he starts tapping away now on the keyboard to open Yura's player forum. As he opens the forum fully, there are so many negative comments written by him, cursing her wildly and saying awful things quite aggressively. A truly evil laugh appears now on Youngwoo's face as he curses Yura again now, yelling loudly that he'll take absolutely no prisoners at all. He shouts angrily, asking Yura directly now to just die, and continues relentlessly tapping the keyboard to write even more comments quickly, determined and driven to completely destroy her reputation utterly. Just at that moment, Sei steps in, seeing him going so crazy real. She leans closer toward the pod and asks Youngwoo sharply if he has finally gone mad. Youngwoo shouts now, startled indeed. Shin Sei, a 17-year-old high school girl then, is Shin Youngwoo's younger sister. She suggests Youngwoo clean up his room, saying bluntly it smells absolutely horrible there. She then pointedly asks him to take a look at himself closely in the mirror, and think back carefully about when he really last took a shower. Embarrassed significantly, Youngwoo asks her to leave and cease nagging him endlessly. Changing quickly the topic here, Sae he leans quickly into the pod, then glances intently at the screen and directly asks if he really can make real money just playing this game. Youngwoo quickly tells her now, it's actually a popular game widely played by over 2 billion people globally now, and that truthfully if he's actually good, he can definitely and truly be successful. So he reads the comments now on Yura's forum, written by Youngwoo himself. Embarrassed deeply, he panics hard and denies writing them all, saying he leaves the room and tells him he is just an embarrassment indeed. Youngwoo panics again and continues to tell her now. She is surely misunderstanding the entire situation here. Irritated greatly, he realizes Yura is a nuisance, even in real life truly. The next bright morning, while sitting still in front of the TV, Youngwoo realizes now that mom and dad aren't even home now, and say he simply is at school now. So he decides then to chill out and watch the Satisfy channel. As the channel appears quickly, the reporter introduces himself as Lee Kyungman from popular Satisfy Global News channel, and says clearly he is on site to report their latest big story. Youngwoo realizes well that the game is so popular, it's on every channel still, and he'd make a fortune too if he became very famous indeed. The reporter then continues now, saying that the place indeed on the screen is the remains of Yatten Church, located right now in the northern part of the Eternal Kingdom, and questions then what could have possibly happened just there. Youngwoo's wide eyes widen now in utter shock as he hears a familiar name. The reporter there says the person involved indeed in the case is clearly the Black Magician, Yura herself, also rather known as the Blood Witch too, and further that there seems to now have been an intense battle. Considering clearly the overall state of the place now, the reporter quickly calls on a witness who was on site then during the incident. The person then explains that he ended up right there, while desperately being chased now by a monster there, when suddenly he heard a very loud sound. That's definitely when he saw Yura attacking some guy then with her spell. He suddenly goes off topic, praising Yura's beauty there. The reporter asks now him to stay more on topic, please. The witness continues, then saying now, something incredibly shocking happened, even leaving Yura dumbfounded then, as she used one of her ultimate attacks then on the guy. But surprisingly, he wasn't actually affected at all. The reporter quickly interrupts then, saying now, that indeed must mean that the guy is a really high rank, and further if he's famous, the witness should recognize his face too. The witness merely says he was quite mesmerized by Yura's beauty, and sadly got crushed under a heavy rock, so naturally he didn't quite see the guy. The reporter questions now the identity of the mysterious player indeed, who has truly captured everyone's complete attention now. This whole scenario makes Young Woo quickly think he could become famous. Excitedly Young Woo picks up his phone, excitedly saying now, who would have ever thought now about this? Finally things are genuinely looking really up. He then makes a call straight to the global news operator now, and tells him clearly that he wants to report that he is absolutely the guy from Yeton Church directly. The operator politely asks directly for his ID, to which Young Woo replies, simply grit. Then the operator further asks for his level, and as Young Woo tells him that it's level 3 there, the operator quickly cuts now the ongoing call. Young Woo falls down in disappointment, starting murmuring softly. Meanwhile directly on the TV, the reporter continues onward, saying quickly they will be releasing a short clip recorded well from the incident, and asking viewers still to call if they have some information. Annoyed, Young Woo comments like that won't do anything. Just at then, Doran appears right on the screen while Irene is struggling hard to carry him. The reporter then announces that it's Doran indeed, and that he did rescue Irene. After all of this, Young Woo is quite shocked and realizes Doran isn't looking too good, but remembers again that he did go up against Yura all on his own. Irene starts truly crying as Doran becomes then completely unconscious, which clearly makes Young Woo then think, maybe now he didn't quite make it. He recalls Doran thanking him now for making that decision, and realizes now that, NPC or definitely not. Doran was such a nice guy, smirking softly. He recalls now Doran's ring and thinks he should have given it back to him. He decides instead to get some sleep while the reporter just keeps going, announcing quickly that next up they have Satisfy Hot Topic, and their very special guest today is a player who's been steadily gaining quite a lot of attention lately. The reporter asks politely the guest to say hello now to the viewer. The guest greets all now, asking if everyone knows him well. He proudly introduces himself then as Katsu here, a level 20, exactly. A true Japanese warrior indeed. Young Woo wonders aloud if that dude is quite famous for being a jackass. Rumor does indeed have it, he's the rich son of a tycoon. And truly, he certainly sounds just like one now. The reporter says Katsu really shot up in unified rankings now, and now, he is currently ranked 53rd overall. He tells Katsu that everyone is really dying to know his secret there. Success, since he suddenly jumped a sharp 30 levels in mere month. Young Woo's eyes now widen, and he sits back shocked by the news, wondering deeply just how Katsu even did that. Because honestly, it took him full years to reach level 7. Katsu directly stops the reporter, asking now if this is Korea. Mentioning Yura currently is the very top ranker in Korea. The reporter agrees fully now. Katsu addresses Yura directly, warning her that her days are over soon. He will utterly, totally crush her now, and finally become the new #1 ranked player within Satisfy them. Young Woo outright calls him insane now, thinking a 53rd ranker is brazenly challenging a 5th ranker now, and although Young Woo hates to admit all of it, Yura is surely a monster. Katsu continues calmly on the television then, saying the well-kept secret everyone really wants to know is his sword indeed, as he deliberately pulls out his uniquely shaped sword then. Young Woo is noticeably impressed now, but now wonders how that sword could truly be the secret behind leveling up. Katsu boldly tells everyone he will prove it right there now. His sword starts transforming quickly and a wave of heat envelopes it entirely. Startled, Young Woo then wonders what the hell is really up with that sword now. Katsu coolly explains that it's actually his passive skill alone, which transforms his very weapon to actively consume his opponent's health fast, based solely on the damage he powerfully inflicts now. The more he relentlessly attacks, the faster his health and speed substantially rise. The reporter is certainly trembling. Says in a breaking frightened voice that he's honestly never heard of such a rare skill, to which Katsu confidently replies that of course he clearly hasn't yet. It's mostly because Katsu remarkably gained it just 3 months ago now, by truly becoming the legendary blood warrior then. Katsu asks now if everyone truly likes, and reveals it's the name of his epic class indeed. Young Woo wonders then if that's a hidden class now, that can boost his levels immensely still. He decides he also wants now to utilize his class as Pagma's successor after a while too. Young Woo returns quickly to the game now and enters Baron Village. He realizes this is where he came for Asher's quest then, and guesses the church wasn't rebuilt fully because of its hostile relationship sadly with the Yaten cult. There are clearly many players roaming around here. One of them announces that warriors at level 1-30 heading now to Mubai ruins are welcome to join them. Another says they are recruiting all level 200 players for the Guardian of the Forest raid then, with their mission now to find the ultimate mineral blue aura Calcom. Seeing all this then, Young-woo realizes these are all raid parties clearly for high-ranking players. He supposes now it's no big surprise, considering all the monsters around in this village are above level 100 still. On the other hand now, he realizes clearly he will probably starve indeed to death with his low level now. He decides now he should head toward a better village suited now. Just at that moment, he sees a carriage there, and thinks it might just get him there in one piece only. He excuses the driver then, and asks if he can hop on up, saying he'd like to get to the safest village right from here now. The driver agrees, saying that for all beginners now, Winston Village is good enough, but it's 10 gold total for the ride now. Young-woo panics a bit and asks then for a second now, checking closely his current assets now, which sadly reveal he has only 3 gold, and 11 silver only. Disappointed deeply, he looks toward the driver, who then rudely tells him to get lost now. Young-woo says, stunned, he didn't even say a word yet at all, fully knowing now the dire situation. The driver then sarcastically asks if Young-woo who exactly wants a discount because his own mother is sick. He's hesitating now. Young-woo agrees, and then the driver gives him that shut-up call. Young-woo quietly sits in the corner, beginning to cry deeply. He's completely disappointed right now with his situation, muttering deeply, to hell indeed with capitalism. Young-woo slowly sits on the side of the street, and silent tears now flow sadly from his very eye. In immense frustration, he loudly curses capitalism itself, and then says sadly that he'll probably just die on the street. This very time, he surely continues to panic outright, as worries flood his mind about just how dirt broke he really is. All this because now of Asher clearly, and he wonders how much was spent on the whole quest entirely. He further sadly tells himself again that his new class change was utterly useless, as he is now level 3, however, he quickly realizes that if he creates just one item, he surely can make money and also level up higher. With that quick thought, he excitedly raises his fist to his very chest with new hope. He starts strategizing quickly again, and tells himself that he should just be more careful, not to attract much attention, in case something really awesome ever pops up for him. He then decides to check Master Blacksmith craftsmanship entirely first, and sees that there is indeed a pleasant 10% boost now on all stats of all created items completely, indicating strongly that his status and increasing fame will increase every single time he actually makes an item at all. Young-woo further calmly considers that his own craftsmanship existing skills are already at a high master level clearly, in addition also to his new level 1 legendary blacksmith skill. Even just the one blacksmith surely is only at an intermediate level, so it's obviously great. The best part is this creation skill, where he actually can create any item to match his preference, which will hopefully definitely be a masterpiece truly. With these calculations, he keenly thinks he has 3 whole chances, so he surely should give it a try. Young-woo takes out his brand new sharp sword, and loudly says that if just an epic class really is that intense, then surely a legendary class definitely should be better now. He decides to look into it furthermore and selects it openly. On the screen now, a pop-up loudly appears too, informing him calmly that he clearly is using the legendary blacksmith's famed creation skill surely, and asking him bluntly exactly what item he really wishes to create. He chooses a greatsword surely, because weapons surely come now first and foremost openly. After his input surely, another pop-up too, asks him plainly about the materials he would really like to use now. He keenly thinks the strongest materials surely would be much better now, so he simply chooses blue or calcom and inputs that. However, a new pop-up asks him to input the item's traits or characteristics fully, leaving him absolutely confused about having clearly to do it himself fully. He quickly takes a shot and clearly draws it anyway, thinking it will surely be grand and powerful fully, just exactly like a shark, indeed hefty and shiny brightly. Excitedly now, he continues to design it intently with attack power fully. Over 10 million meteors suddenly that directly strike each time he boldly attacks openly, something clearly that overrides his opponent's firm defense, and also instant kill sharp capability. When he finishes plainly drawing, he admires it deeply, and then thinks it somewhat looks like both a shark and an anchovy surely. The screen then alerts him plainly that auto-calibration surely will start soon, with revisions applied plainly according to surely the materials and blueprint provided to it clearly. Quite surprised, Young-woo actually wonders if his new blueprint was really that bad overall, and sharply questions the very numbers loudly appearing on the whole screen now. When auto-calibration surely is completed fully, Young-woo's very eyes now widen, as he indeed suddenly understands all the key information. Even though he really has never worked with blueprints often before at all, he starts feeling more like a real blacksmith overall now. The sword fully displays above the entire screen now in 3D always, with the new durability suddenly now at 1090 surely. Attack power is now 1020, defense is at 80, and agility is now plus 50 surely. He surely is now impressed to clearly see that the given settings have also clearly changed. Now the very sword has definitely more options soon, which surely is very perfect soon. because he completely can join that Guardian of the Forest open raid soon to quickly get the blue or clear Calcom soon. However, he finally realizes the entire raid is truly for players now at level 200 and right above clearly. Before he readily can process that, he suddenly notices a needed user requirements section full, indicating loudly a needed or required level of around 300 plus now. Even though the Uber 1 top ranker surely is only truly at level 250 full, he clearly realizes that even if he readily put all his stats now into strength full, his entire total surely would only truly be near 5,000 now. Considering loudly that the very number now, one blacksmith player truly is only just at an intermediate level full, he acknowledges quickly that his skills indeed are advanced easily. However, despite his very advanced skills clearly in full, the entire shark-shaped sword he clearly created is basically just junk basically. Upset once again, he then quickly remembers that it's not completely, utterly useless right now, because he clearly doesn't really have any restrictions on equipping any gear ever. Even if he actually incurs penalties using this big sword currently, it surely still will now be impressive right now, as long as he properly can continue now making various items too. It really doesn't frankly matter with newfound confidence full. Youngwoo then stands up now to join too. The Guardian of the Forest major raid soon full. Once he then does so, he fully plans to quickly grab his whole prize and finally make a run for it full. When Youngwoo urgently asks now to join final, the actual leader firmly refuses, explaining fully that the party fully is for players fully at level 190 and above, fully judging clearly by Youngwoo's high gear full. He seems plainly to be only right around level 60 surely. Youngwoo chuckles at the leader's statement right now, and replies plainly that even though his cool gear surely is shabby currently, he is actually seriously level 100 openly, and surely doesn't rely much now on his fine gear usually. The entire leader now gets angry and roughly asks aloud if Youngwoo seriously is implying plainly that all of clearly their skills are really based on awesome gear overall now. Another fellow now joins in hotly mocking Youngwoo full, saying sadly he's really never heard of him ever before, and loudly calling him a major loser completely without high equipment full. He sharply even bets that Youngwoo surely is truly one of those actual free riders open, who likely must right now be lying loudly about his actual rank level. Youngwoo indeed is stunned deeply by their angry accusations openly. However, a strong man among them known as Ray Gasteep tells the angry others now not to be quite too harsh on Youngwoo outright, and does suggest loudly giving him surely a different simple assignment ever, since sadly their known guild likely will handle that strong boss monster well. Everyone frankly looks at Ray Gas now in total utter all out, realizing deeply he seriously is the actual Ray Gas from the awesome Zataka guild truly, the famed #1 strong martial artist surely with the fine nickname plainly Ultimate First, and is strongly around level 180 clearly. This surely is especially impressive outright, since skilled martial artists simply have severe item major restrictions outright, making sadly it very hard clearly to level up brightly. Youngwoo bitterly keenly thinks fully about how really unfair life can be open, as the handsome Reyes is actually good looking now too clearly, that this honestly isn't the right time honestly to be simply nice now, arguing loudly that they probably can't actually take Youngwoo along openly, without at all testing clearly his actual abilities now. Regis finally replies that it truly is better now just to have more players strongly for the entire raid major cleanup too surely. Youngwoo then happily quickly agrees to the cleanup simple task right now, and keenly thinks Regis seems like a pretty nice friendly guy overall. The mean leader now continues making excuses loudly, while Youngwoo loudly mentally then tells him to just better listen to the actual rankers loudly command right now. Regis surely suggests now a simple 1.1 small match to surely test Youngwoo's fine skills now, ensuring now there probably won't at all be a big problem if he proves himself overall now. Youngwoo frankly feels quite happy now to get surely a chance now, but surely is now shaken to fully realize clearly that he'll now be fighting Regis directly. Youngwoo quickly realizes now in a jolt that he is now truly in big trouble, for now surely having to fully fight plainly against the tough Regis clearly. However, the other sharp man now agrees keenly with Regis's clear suggestion now, and he loudly calls it surely a brilliant overall idea openly, which likely will completely be enough fully to convince overall everyone now, just exactly as he now is fully about to properly announce the exciting fight soon, by simply confirming only Youngwoo's known name full. Youngwoo boldly cuts him fully off and quickly runs away in total utter fear frankly, making sadly up an actual excuse fully about suddenly getting more bored overall, and quickly deciding to honestly practice more moves with his left strong foot openly. Today, Regis surely is confused as he often watches him readily run fully away clearly, wondering now just exactly why he suddenly left overall, as surely it really would truly have clearly been great fully if he actually had joined them openly. Youngwoo just keeps surely running openly, regretting badly how it truly didn't suddenly go well really now. He does consider sharply making much money for his carriage real fair suddenly. First, he just opens the given screen now clearly for it all, and now the pop-up loudly asks him sternly to finally input the right name clearly of that created actual item fully. This actually confuses Youngwoo sternly as he bluntly can't believe openly, wants him so sternly to name finally a complete literal ultimate failure now, but he clearly still keenly thinks he simply has greatly gotten the real hang of things again. Therefore, Youngwoo clearly surely tries hard, keeping quite in mind plainly that there keenly is a strict limit firmly to how many varied items surely he can create at all ever. So he surely probably should avoid actually making several things now, unless truly it surely is now absolutely honestly necessary indeed. Considering truly this, he thinks just about how very busy somehow he really will be, making real money and properly fully studying hard. When Youngwoo finally arrives loudly at Smith's smithy again, he frankly is ordered directly to finally get out in such a truly harsh manner currently. He earnestly tries now to explain further, but the cruel Smith rudely cuts him bluntly off by urgently questioning suddenly his honest words too. How bluntly to sharply make an exact item that completely sells extremely well and loudly, repeating slowly them too. He sadly asked Youngwoo plainly if he truly thinks fully that it's truly an overall easy sharp job truly. The sad Smith strongly continues now his known hard work now, and then harshly calls Youngwoo surely a plain disgrace quickly to all great blacksmiths clearly. Just blindly another clearly half-wit blindly running madly after easy money bluntly. Youngwoo surely attempts plainly to finally convince this rough Smith by loudly saying this openly. He really hasn't even asked loudly for just anything really bad aloud, and just quietly wants some loose slack now, but the stern Smith roughly tells him frankly that he clearly is not the only one sternly who wrongly thinks this high work boldly is openly just a big joke frankly. People honestly like Youngwoo who underestimate others now and do loudly sadly aren't clearly cut out at all for any long real simple work anyway. He insults softly him sternly saying this loudly, that he surely doesn't remotely have what really it takes fully to obviously be an honest blacksmith anyway full. So he probably should sadly leave Youngwoo's new sad sighs and fresh clear disappointment sadly, and plainly steps completely out now, mumbling deeply to himself slowly now about how stuck totally he surely is full. As loudly this truly was completely his lonely only good chance bluntly to finally earn just carriage fare clearly. When Youngwoo often starts loudly to sadly worry much clearly about honestly this basically being surely his harsh end open, and clearly wonders loudly if he possibly is now going to plainly rot somewhere in the small village full. Smith rather comes quietly out now wishing his soft heart overall too was really made now out of steel strong, and angrily commands Youngwoo suddenly to basically stop clearly whining loudly and honestly his fine yard again, and instead get him soon some proper firewood quickly. He loudly gets reminded sadly of the real nice reward too for loudly chopping firewood clearly now, and gladly thanks stern Smith clearly happily loudly calling plainly him surely the current best soon strong. Now Youngwoo quickly starts quietly chopping clear firewood easily, thinking aloud fully about just how quietly he sadly hasn't had a clear normal simple quest often like this clearly lately, just nicely chopping some plain wood and plainly leveling up final. However, he carefully shouldn't surely forget plainly that surely he readily can sadly fail actually to sharply chop plain firewood easily and honestly this fine game yet, as honestly it surely is just much too plainly realistic strongly. So he wisely decides fully to nicely appraise that sharp axe overall first slowly, when carefully he finally tries at last to plainly do so clearly that he's also shocked boldly to suddenly achieve a clear 100% understanding bluntly of the old rough act, in hopefully just a single rare try easily, which greatly could hopefully be clearly due often to his simple passive awesome skills again maybe. However, just soon as surely he's finally about quickly to roughly strike loudly strongly, he readily sees sadly the great guideline surely on the real firewood too clearly, for properly the needed place clearly to strike now roughly. When Youngwoo truly strikes fully at exactly that honest very spot perfectly right now, the rough wood quickly breaks fully and clear half easily and usually just a single swift try clearly, making loudly him fully really ultimately happy openly. He boldly calculates quickly that if bluntly he really achieves quickly usually 100% bluntly too, understanding always of most legendary rare items there, he'll properly be basically now super very rich clearly soon mainly with all that easily. He carefully keeps sadly chopping aloud boldly for almost 2 often straight hours now easily, until he suddenly finally sadly falls boldly to the hard ground fully now. Exhausted readily, he slowly sweats loudly profusely now completely, hating truly being around level 3 poorly too, as rather he greatly feels somehow weaker suddenly than just a simple piece clearly of average paper open, having readily only plainly chopped loudly a current 150 hard pieces today only. Nonetheless now, he greatly gathers often back clearly his tired strength clearly and roughly stands straight up there, encouraging now himself plainly to definitely do it frankly for kind Smith truly there, and completely for himself quickly to fully leave bluntly the small town now clearly soon allow, as carefully he firmly does clearly so, A loud pop sharp stat unlocked alert suddenly appears quickly now, which sharply he surely looks sharply at completely with loud confusion clearly. Another screen pop-up sadly appears also telling fully him too now that his own weight greatly carrying the fine capacity greatly has slightly increased now nicely. Young Woo quietly wonders now happily greatly if this really is now a unique special stat really for now legendary high classes allowed right then. He basically realizes now that he gladly doesn't really feel oddly exhausted at all anymore soon thereafter. In clear fact, he firmly feels oddly super suddenly energetic completely right now, and carefully continues greatly chopping rapidly until sadly there's finally a brand large quickly huge pile there slowly. Smith rather looks then at the pile really with soft surprise now mainly allowed. As Young Woo quickly chops soon 1000 fast pieces clearly and clearly just under 6 quickly hours now full. Too often which Young Woo keenly calls that often it's surely a piece clearly of really easy cake allowed. Claiming firmly he also is suddenly a top blacksmith quickly too very greatly then. However Smith sternly disregards quietly him again completely now, and frankly tells often Young Woo roughly that he fully will clearly better believe sadly him just then fully. If readily he honestly can now finish clearly the whole mining grade or open job easily now. As quickly that clearly is only just the current basics sadly Young Woo soon thinks aloud quickly that fondly those strong experience easy points bluntly will actually level him fast. Him fully up to nearly zero actually loudly and gladly agrees greatly to the great simple task loudly. Upon fondly roughly reaching often now there then clearly. He almost realizes sternly quickly that loudly it loudly took kindly him fully roughly 3 honest hours completely. For only just a 30 clear minutes simple walk firmly due fully to obviously the hard penalty then now. He loudly supposes sharply that openly it clearly is clearly because fondly he is quickly wearing aloud then level often 70 gladly. Gear it honestly a minus really strong level now there. But truly it really is quite irritating just nonetheless greatly actually there. Young Woo roughly tells aloud bluntly a sharp man sternly that keenly he frankly is fondly sent carefully by Mr. Strict Smith sternly aloud. At which the rough men greatly make bluntly fun clearly of honestly him boldly for mainly being honestly just roughly skin openly and quickly bones real, and they rather don't firmly believe fully him often aloud. What if clearly the rough men roughly tells aloud plainly him often not surely to sadly cause actually any fast trouble greatly ever again then, and they roughly just sternly stay calmly in exactly a plain corner also surely. He finally also loudly says sternly that finally he greatly will talk sternly to Hard Smith usually clearly about truly sending him quick. Such sadly a really weak great person truly now. They sternly turn quickly back fondly to rather their usual work routine usually quickly, until hopefully they greatly hear quickly the whole sound closely of a rough axe again quickly soon there. They rather turn also around also mostly to finally find really a solid lot sadly of hard good iron suddenly now, or actually coming honestly out safely of almost the rough ground cleanly there. As Young Woo boldly strikes hard usually his worn axe completely roughly, they clearly look often at all the honest iron good ores there suddenly and stunned utter usually clearly quickly, unable sternly to really understand really how completely he easily is roughly doing it there still actually greatly, even then while roughly wearing really the rare armor quickly also mostly, even though sadly Young Woo's weary body often feels suddenly like slowly it gladly would sadly break any single sudden moment completely. He carefully continues deeply to finally dig more loudly as strongly it frankly makes roughly him feel better sadly now. He warmly admits softly that sadly what Quick Smith sternly said so aloud quickly about often. His bright capabilities greatly really is basically often also fairly true currently usually too, but decides finally to greatly learn clearly what usually he doesn't properly really have lately sadly now. The kind men also start greatly praising often fully his sheer great strength aloud quickly, saying aloud clearly that honestly they warmly thought honestly he really would loudly be mostly an incompetent sad idiot just greatly sadly quickly, but instead quickly he's finally turning sternly out to finally be quickly a honest great high miner fully too current. Young Woo carefully ends easily up greatly mining wildly a pile honestly of rich hard iron clear or quickly then, until greatly a hard pop up often sadly appears real, telling often him sternly that strongly he finally has keenly acquired openly 170 rare iron shiny ores fully right then. He gently shouts loudly with pure real joy openly declaring aloud that persistence is clearly my great weapon soon with sadly this alone really now. He fondly finally usually reaches quickly aloud at just level 1 now only there. Shin Yangwo now sits sadly there often inside completely the rare strong game so openly mostly, as then notifications often sadly start popping wildly up openly soon and loudly the strong video game loudly. That clearly he gladly is also greatly now just on level 1 soon at all clearly really, and bluntly his old stats finally that easily were always clearly fixed fully to a real strict minimum sadly there. Due quickly to rather the severe minus real level open penalty usually lately too. Have already been rightly restored just too often their true normal clear state fully always. Also too sadly the current basics deeply of plain stats easily of Pagma openly sternly there. Descendants finally have gladly been applied greatly always right there. He always looks back gently at quickly his high current true status again fully there. And fully it fondly shows quickly the real name sternly of this high level is one already their usual. 45 sharply 100 sadly and greatly the great class also truly is now Pagma's full descendant fully most. The famed title now is surely one who then became sadly a high legend again lately too usual. And finally he gladly is quickly finally truly back still just at level 1 now roughly mainly clearly too usual. A true normal high level now finally. One's old total fast stat hard points really should still be finally only 22 nearly sternly actual. Health clearly 82. 80 mana really 75 quick, 75 sharply strength clearly 20 more plus 5 just recently. Stamina also often 18 agility fondly 12 really only sadly. Intelligence quickly 25 roughly also today. Dexterity 50 truly so often. Persistence suddenly 16 right now so strongly sadly. Composure quickly 10 truly now. Indomitable 11 loudly already. Dignity often 10 insight quickly. 10 sudden stat sharp points roughly 40 often so well. Weight also often 3000 currently. 3, 5, 8 now fondly. 20 weight 40 nice stat sharp points well. But always Pagma's new descendants is also usually 165 only currently. So truly. If fondly he warmly counts roughly the high persistence that was created right there earlier right now. And finally the high additional shiny point only in Indomitable only right there really. It's also clearly 182 strongly Shin also mainly looks back often at all the good old stat new points easily so surely. Which frankly are always also often really 40 quickly and also feels shocked there. As clearly they also sadly are keenly supposed mainly to finally give now a bluntly 10 warm points really right now per old level honestly really there. So now this new hot question easily arises soon why gladly does he have 40 only at this moment then and also only there? Shin just also realizes too rightly there truly were also surely just 4 also few quick levels now. From quickly level 3 loudly sharply only to level 1 quickly just then there. And readily is clearly amazed gladly by seeing this huge real transformation slowly now actual. Mr. Sad Smith warmly on fondly the sharp other great hand so only 2 finally off. Jokes well and properly tries mostly so hard to carefully lighten quickly hard things kindly and then fondly with Youngwoo so gently still currently only always. Saying now only 2 fully that loudly. To fondly think loudly that truly he greatly treated bluntly such also then and high outstanding nice person soon too almost ever always now. So basically harshly really also still is now also now pretty then just often embarrassing gently too. Meanwhile now suddenly a hard message also soon gently pops well sharply on the full screen. Telling also then Youngwoo fully now kindly that loudly his affinity just yet well fondly with fondly. Smith now also has quickly increased just then well by 60 actually just gently today too. And then only. His real reputation just roughly within just Barrentown kindly and gently already has sadly also increased loudly by 20 recently so often right now. Even though Smith still keeps asking him not to get mad now, and that they truly are both blacksmiths too, he asks anyway. Asks him again to recommend some items that will sell well, just like he clearly said last time that, since he desperately needs the money for his carriage fare soon. Though indeed. Smith now tells him that he has prepared just the very thing. For him are Jaffa arrows then. And he tells him that these arrows should be good enough. As Youngwoo's very first item now, Youngwoo precisely holds those arrows and examines them closely. However, he rather hesitantly says that these are such simple thing, arrows and these ones are cheap. Expendable items don't really make very much indeed. Smith suddenly smirks proudly, claiming surely, those arrows are not just some ordinary or average arrows at all, as they surely have a bit of a Jaffa mixed with steel inside. Its ultimate effect is that it ignores some of the enemy's total defense, and surely this is indispensable now for raids specifically against powerful golems also, such as the guardians of the very forest so dangerous. Shin understands all that. These crucial details about the arrow now change everything here, and then he immediately appraises it. A notification pops clearly up telling about the Jaffa arrow also, priced at 6 silver with a normal rating definitely, deals 20 attack damage and has an attack power range of 20 clearly, 26 and weighs 0.1 with surely 89% understanding of all things, and Shin can now use it skillfully definitely. Shin fully realizes this. If he increases his understanding well by disassembling it all now, he will finally get to learn the crucial production method also, as surely 89% understanding of this arrow is surely required though. Smith then tells him to teach him the production method also, and now asks Shin to definitely follow him closely then. Smith clearly shows him and as well as tells him that firstly, he now needs to smelt the ores well. by putting surely the appropriate amount in the blast furnace now. Afterwards he has to clearly remove the limestone carefully, and all the impurities now from the iron too, and by truly cooling the molten iron well, he clearly gets pig iron that is not suitable for making weapons here. To finally make it all suitable now, he needs to carefully reduce the carbon content too, through a longer process specifically called steel making too. He looks at Shin, saying this was truly the smelting process indeed, and surely maybe now they probably should try it with the Jaffa ores then, though it is certainly quite hard to get the precise right proportions of needed minerals truly. Young Woo is surely eager now to try it out well, and he quickly watched the blacksmith's detailed actions carefully now. Although Satisfy is actually a realistic game indeed, acquiring helpful knowledge is suddenly quite easy for him. Moreover, especially for him indeed, he still has something truly called the class compensation effect too. He easily notices the detailed signs probably quickly, for all the directions and the strength of the bellows definitely. Surprisingly, it hasn't even been quite 5 minutes yet, but he somehow managed to heat up the furnace so fast. The intense game now warns him too. Pacma's descendant is especially sensitive to the temperature also, and also he is precisely measuring the blast furnace all the time. Temperature, and he gets another notification window indeed, with the detailed temperature visibly on display now, from 700 centigrade all the way up to 730 centigrade also. It is a pure success as he gets another notification again clearly, that the entire quest is now cleared for him, and he has officially gained 80 experience points surely. His helpful affinity with Smith has increased by 30 also here, and he has gained 3 Jaffa ingots all along now. Shin gains finally level 1 and is currently fully at level 2 here, and gets pretty extremely happy with excitement actually, but freaks completely out when Smith praises him too, as well as directly calls him sexy so openly, but quickly changes the topic soon saying that suddenly, even though Shin wasn't very experienced with the smelting all around, so he can't simply just be called talented anymore either. He further now says it's suddenly just like Pagma was fully reborn somehow, not exactly truly a reincarnation directly, but merely a descendant somehow. Smith directs Shin now to move on to the arrowheads immediately. Mix well and heat the molten metals together repeatedly well now, and then pour it right into the specific mold also now, after definitely letting it solidify clearly for 40 minutes so he gets an arrowhead precisely like this indeed. With this, he gradually moves on to the specific anvil now, while he constantly hammers it well. He has to continue to keep in mind now the balance on either side truly. He also precisely has to grind the edges cleanly all along, and all he actually needs to do afterwards too, to fully increase its complete penetration then, he now needs to gradually get the correct weight too, and also total balance for that arrow shaft as such, and all the needed feathers too. Young Woo now wonders silently if he will even be able to do it all, but surely trusts himself, as he soon gets the notification indeed, that he is officially learning all about Jaffa the arrow full production methods too. And his understanding of now the Jaffa arrow too has finally reached precisely 100% fully now. Smith tells Shin too, the raw material cost is indeed free just for this time, and he will certainly be watching closely, and while watching now, he starts to think Shin is clearly no ordinary boy indeed, because mostly the way he clearly handles too the intense molten metal is simply masterclass. Smith really wants him to now teach all about the arrow shaft, but Shin tells him he will surely do it all on his own then, as his total understanding is indeed 100% by now surely. According mostly to the notification again too, straighten carefully out all the twisted parts all along, and just after cutting it all uniformly too, make now the fletchings only using feathers and glue now. The overall efficiency is completely astonishing due to Shin's dexterity indeed, stat and the helpful class compensation effect completely. Smith is extremely shocked now as Shin made all of them full, after barely having a single quick look truly, and now asks him what he is precisely doing too, and why he is carefully quenching the arrowhead all around too. If he does all that, although indeed it will effectively get harder soon, it clearly won't be truly as durable all along now. Shin suddenly grins telling him now not to really worry full, as he carefully plans on tempering the specific arrowheads truly. It's certainly a bit really over the top, only for an expendable item completely. However, Smith tells him that he won't fully have to now. It's certainly a bit really over the top, only for an expendable item completely. Time to quickly make many of them using this method. But Shin firmly assures him if he makes it even a bit better, he can easily sell it for a higher price. And if nobody like him truly wants to grow successful, all he can do is just this. He completes the process, and Smith calmly advises that he just needs to stick the arrowhead carefully and praises that Shin really has been secretly hiding a monstrous talent. Shin slightly smiles saying, his main occupation to this day has always been about doing hard labor, so he never truly expected he'd have so much fun honestly working like this. And now he patiently waits for the quest to be clear, as he suddenly finishes everything. a sudden notification pops up that the legendary Blacksmith's breath has been activated. As Yang Wu quickly gets the notification of the legendary Blacksmith's breath now being activated again, another new message pops up that legendary Blacksmith, level 1 skill, has all the stats of the crafted item slightly increased by 5%, and there is a rare hidden chance of giving additional special features to his crafted item. The powerful special Jaffa arrow is rated as epic, with an impressive attack power ranging from 35 to 42, and a total weight of 0.1. It completely ignores a portion of the enemy's defense, and has a rare chance to fully bypass it altogether. Shin doesn't quite understand what it is about epic though. Another message notification suddenly pops up that the quest is clear, and upon successfully clearing the quest, an epic rated item is now produced permanently, increasing all his stats by 4 instantly, boosting his reputation by 80 across the entire continent, and also granting 300 experience points, raising his current level quickly to 3. Shin's eyes suddenly widen and he says, leaving the level up aside for now, its epic grade rating is absolutely phenomenal, and Smith excitedly says that this is magnificent. To think that a boy who isn't even an apprentice like Shin made such a perfect arrow. Shin cries as he gets overwhelmed, that it should have actually been his sword, but he somehow got an epic grade. Shin thinks that still, amongst the existing arrows, there are currently none that exceed 40 in attack power. Moreover, there is the additional option to completely ignore the enemy's full defense. He quietly feels proud though, that his class's unique effect is amazing, and at this very stage this must be better than most level 20 or 21 handed weapons out there. Later on, Shin gets ready to leave. However, Smith deeply feels it is truly a pity that Shin can't stay a bit long, but Shin calmly assures him if destiny allows it, they surely will meet again. Smith hands him over the weapon, saying he really can't keep these amazing weapons, so he definitely should take them with him. As they talk, a message pops up once again, that Shin gained 100 Jaffa arrows and 3 Jaffa ingots total. Shin quietly wonders if maybe Smith is giving those to him, because their mutual affinity got higher, but still thanks him for the care and for everything he did. SRT. For Shin, although the presents are quite nice, the heavy weight will slow him down, and it'll take a while longer for him to reach the town though. In any case, as long as he sells off the arrow, he can finally leave this place. He says goodbye to Smith, and quietly thinks within himself that the user should patiently wait for him, as he, Gridnam, is planning to bring those guys some amazing new thing. In the Guardian of the Forest raid battle scene, Jishuka, guild master of the Sadaka Guild, Raygas, Tobin, and Vantner are all guild members of the Sadaka Guild, and fight against the people they encountered in the forest. Jishuka warned them earlier, but they didn't listen, so most of them are now dead. And they even managed to capture the boss, so the remaining members still alive are just weak small fries for them. The damage is too overwhelming. Even so, somehow they barely managed to finish, and they ended up getting 30 black iron ores, 7 orichalcum ores, and 1 blue orichalcum ore. As the loot, Regas isn't really that pleased by it, as the amethyst shield with the worst drop rate didn't appear once again. Vantner, on the other hand, says at least they still got some blue orichalcum, and they fought all day long and only suffered losses. Jishuka then asks Tobin how many of them actually died, to which Tobin calmly replies that including guild members, makes 75, while the main force was busy with the boss. The golems kept multiplying, which was extremely detrimental. Jishuka knows that the difficulty of this linked quest is way harder than expected, and they need to urgently take some proper measure. At the barren village, Jishuka states that the 4th raid yielded no solid results again, and the value of the Guardian of the Forest is dropping amongst the user. At this current rate, the quality of the user for future raids will considerably decline. Sadaka Guild. This powerful guild is composed solely of high ranker as its core guild members, but due to its small size, their fame remains small compared to their ranking. Before the launch of Satisfy, during the age of LTS, the guild members were active players in LTS. LTS is a famous MMORPG type that was hugely popular before Satisfy launched. Due to their low numbers, they always had to perform raids with other ordinary users, but even that useful method has its limit. Without the powerful amethyst shield, they simply can't proceed with the linked quest, so they should put the raid plans aside and focus on increasing their strength. Jishuka firmly tells everyone that the Sadaka Guild will focus on individual leveling up and enhancing their best equipment, and in just 3 months' time, those who don't gain 15 extra levels will die, and she informs Regas directly that he himself needs to gain a minimum of 20 levels, leaving Regas in a state of pure fear. At the auction house scene, Jishuka asks the man there to show her some Jaffa arrows, as her entire guild is in pretty bad shape right now because they used to attract attention early in. The beginning of the game. But now no one will even bat an eye. As she begins buying some new arrow supply, she sees that they are selling them at triple the price of a normal 6 silver per arrow deal. She sees the purple colored ones, epic rated, and its info says that the special Jaffa arrow is an epic item with an attack power ranging from 35 to 42, and a weight of only 0.1. It ignores part of the enemy's defense, and has a chance to completely bypass the enemy's full defense. Jishuka is in utter shock as she said. She asked almost every blacksmith to craft her arrows SRT, but she has never heard of a high-grade arrow before. She believes that it is a cheat-like performance, and it could be a decisive weapon during an intense high-level battle. She plans on first trying to bid for it, but wonders who on earth has created these. She further considers that if it's not the top 2 blacksmith rankers, Panmir and Stang, it means there is another blacksmith who may have surpassed their level. The information has now been shown about the arrow to Jishuka when the message suddenly pops up, stating that it is an arrow crafted by a skilled yet promising craftsman who still lacks experience and reputation. Due to the combination of Jaffa alloy with steel, the arrow possesses an extremely high penetration and has the ability to ignore part of the enemy's defense. While having food, Vantner is teasing Regis because Regis is worried about just how he can possibly level up 20 times within 3 months, to which Vantner calmly replies that they have to seriously think through this, because when Jishuka said she would kill them, he is sure she will definitely go through with it, and sarcastically remarks that at least he will be able to pay for his last meal. Suddenly, they receive a notification and it is a guild announcement, and Jishuka has now updated them to search for users in the top 100 blacksmiths ranking whose player level is lower than their skill level. Vantner doesn't quite understand why she is suddenly telling them to find a blacksmith. On the other hand, Riga stands up and gets frustrated that she was literally urging them to level up earlier, and now she's telling them otherwise. He angrily calls her so whimsical, but calms down in a few seconds when another message pops up by Jishuka that mocks her, and she tells them she also notifies them that this one user has the skill needed to successfully lead them to victory against the Guardian of the Forest. Vantner says that if Jishuka is that sure of herself, then they should go find this guy. A very small team of elites managed to rank in the top 3 of each class ranking within just half a year because of their pride. They don't accept any new guild members, although they are not famous or influential like those massive other large guilds. Their strength is still recognized by everyone, and they now have full authority in their hand. This right here is them, the Sadaka Guild. Jishuka is thinking about the users Panmir and Sting. It surely must be because his crafted items far surpass the original one. All the guilds scattered around the continent will be in chaos as they desperately search for this user, so they urgently need to find him first in a fresh new setting. A guy is now talking to Panmir, a top-ranked blacksmith, telling him if he has recently heard the rumor about the guy who is now being searched by a certain powerful guild just because he created something truly unique. He further adds that all of Satisfy is currently talking about it, though Panmir doesn't really seem to hear him, and simply stays quiet for a bit. After a short while he says he just recently saw the news, an epic great arrow made by a true master craftsman with impressive skills and real potential, but still lacking in proper experience and reputation. He feels quite insecure as even he himself doesn't get called a master craftsman. He thinks that although it happened only twice, he was actually the first person to craft an epic great item. He was truly proud of putting in more effort than anyone else, but now questions himself, who is this unknown person? Now at the labor office a long queue has been made, and the speaker warns everyone to be careful when they finally arrive on site, and that he will call them out individually. The announcer then announces that the Shinwu building construction site is now looking for 4 workers, but then, before Shin could say that he wants to be part of it, all the elderly people went first. When the announcer asks again, he needs 3 strong tilers with solid experience, but again a guy elbowed him aside, making Shin extremely furious. Shin shouts out saying he is also here to make a living, so they should just stop acting like that. The announcer tells everyone to maintain order, the decorum, and announces again that he now needs electric pulling work of 110,000, which is for only 1 person. Shin doesn't speak up as that one's awfully demanding. He already tried it last year, and the cost of medicine afterward was even greater than the income. But someone forcefully raised Shin's hand up. The announcer thinks Shin is volunteering willingly, and selects him right away in the morning. Shin looks utterly exhausted and before eating breakfast, tells his family that he is leaving for work, but his father asks him to stay a bit longer, though Shin was in a hurry but still stayed for a bit, thinking if he pays back just the loan interest, his entire savings are only at 9 to 21, although his father takes out an amount of 70k, telling him that they will give him the money needed for his daily wage so he can rest and take a break. Today Shin looks at the money carefully, thinking the daily wage is at least 90k. These days though, his sisters give him a deadpan look to take it, and stop being so ungrateful, and tell him that she has already prepared a bath, so he should just go use it later on. He joins the game since it's nice, resting and peacefully playing the game. But after finally paying back his debt, his account savings are back at zero, and that is exactly why he is not motivated. He plans on heading to another village and seeing how high the arrow price will go, as it remains his only asset right now. As he sees the prices, his eyes widen and jaw drops instantly, because the listed price of the Jaffa arrow is 72 silver, with 99 arrow units in total. 72 silver means that equals 71 gold and 28 silver, since 100 gold equals 120,001. He basically got about 80,001 in just 6 hours. He tells the man at the auction place to give him his share, so he hands him exactly 60 gold and 59 silver, because epic grade items carry a commission fee of 15%. After a short bit, Shin thinks if he can earn money just by crafting items, then there's no reason to leave the place, but he remembers Smith's rude behavior, and begins planning of moving away from there. Shin is now traveling by a carriage, and tells the carriage driver that the fee was quite a lot, as it was 8 full gold and 90 silver coins, but the driver tells him that he should be thankful at least, as he actually reduced it for Shin. However, Shin then asks him if the beginner's village is really called Winston. The driver assures him it is right, and people are saying it will soon be changed into a city because of its incredibly high population, and apparently now the heir of the Steins family will become the new city lord. Lord Shin finds the name Steen quite a familiar one, but still doesn't really recall it. He finally arrives at the newly built village, and now as he enters the place, it appears to be 4 times the size of Baron, and the streets are more lively and bustling as well. Shin plans to properly start over again now, by starting off with sorting out his entire inventory. The excessive weight is slowing him down too much, so he decided to leave everything possible in the warehouse. When he glances at his inventory, it currently includes the following items: Mammon's greatsword and Mangel's plate armor, 34 intermediate potions and 27 advanced potions, 2 intermediate strength enhancing potions, 3 intermediate agility boosting potions, a special Jaffa arrow and 3 rare Jaffa ingot. He quietly questions himself if this is all he owns, and then he thinks he should have praised the Mangel armor earlier, and Mammon's greatsword as well, because if his understanding increases further, then the penalty should probably reduce as well. Suddenly he gets a notification that his understanding of Mammon's greatsword has now reached 33%, and Mangel's plate armor has climbed to 65%. Unlike the axe, it didn't instantly reach 100% right away. Then in an instant, more notifications start popping up that, due to the increase in his understanding, some penalties have been adjusted accordingly. Mammon's greatsword now has its attack power reduction adjusted from 30% down to 20%, and Mangel's plate armor defense reduction adjusted down from 20% to only 8%. Shin feels a little satisfied that, at the very least, he gained this much. And since its durability has slightly fallen, he could repair the item to further boost understanding. But right now he really needs to save money, since he will need more energy to craft things, so he should store all equipment for now in the warehouse. Shin politely asks the man to open his warehouse, and the man handling the warehouse tells him that it will cost 30 silver, and another 10 silvers per each item. He feels frustrated because of all the money being spent, but sighs and stores his armor and weapon first, and plans to hold on to the epic grade silver item. He kept it as a precious souvenir, since it's a waste of 10 silvers just to store it. He now plans on searching for the smith, and arrives at an enormous building, making Shin think aloud that there must be an intermediate or even higher class of blacksmiths working there, and that probably means they will treat him favorably. But as soon as he enters the place, it turns out to be empty, but he hears a voice asking who he is, making him realize there's someone else present. An old man named Khan is lying on the bed surrounded by bottles of alcohol, though Shin tells him directly he wants to craft the best-selling item available there, so the man informs him that the mirror company is selling items in bulk at a much lower price due to competition, so items there haven't sold well for quite a long time, and tells Shin that this smithy was closed down long ago. Then all of a sudden, 4 to 5 men enter the place and start threatening Khan, as they order him to hand over the entire building to them and show him the official sales contract paper and tell him to sign it now and hand over the building to them immediately. Shin thinks this isn't the mirror company that's big and famous so far. So how is there a contract for handing over the building and the rights? He's not sure what is happening, but decides to sneak out before things get too complicated. But as he tries to head out, one of the guys tells him to stop and loudly calls him a spy from the Skanker company. But Shin instantly realizes he is a gangster hired secretly by the mirror company. Outlaw NPCs do sometimes kill users in this game, and these guys appear to be around level 35 each, so he shouldn't fight back and must act accordingly. Shin lets out a nervous chuckle, telling them he's new to Winston Town, and he honestly didn't know this smithy was closed. One of the guys examines him from top to bottom, and then coldly tells him to get lost. As Shin slowly starts walking away, he suddenly overhears their conversation, with all the men saying things to the old man, telling him to give them half of the money SRT he now gets from the contract itself. And either way, his young son died from a disease, so he really should stop being stubborn, and openly mocks him, asking if this place is his son's grave or something. Listening to all of that, Shin gets very angry, though he still tries to calm himself, telling himself that it's not really his business, and he's not some kind of hero. But then a notification pops up, notifying him clearly that Blacksmith Rage has been created, and he now must complete the quest by defeating all of Marrow Company's minions, and by destroying the cursed smithy contract. If he succeeds, Khan's drinking problem will seriously improve, and Shin will become incredibly close to him. Shin will also unlock the unique skill Blacksmith's Rage, but if he fails, Khan will die within a few days, and all his open quests will disappear. There's also an acceptance reward, and to think that reward is a class skill, he obviously needs to do it. He still thinks, what are his odds though? First, there's a powerful and reliable skill, legendary Blacksmith's Long Patience. His health, defense, and dexterity will increase by an amazing 200% for 1 hour, and the passive skills too, that give him 5 whole seconds of invulnerability when his health hits absolute rock bottom. And he also has the full stats of a level 20, but the real problem is he left all of his equipment in the warehouse, so he now has no weapon. However, he suddenly realizes he still has one. It's Epic Grave, even though its base attack power is low. As long as it completely ignores the enemy's defense and activates, then he has a chance. All those men suddenly notice Shin and tell him they let him live earlier. While he's still standing here though, Shin stands his ground unfazed, telling them even if they're debt collectors, there is always a limit to everything. One of the guys just tells him to get lost again, and when he notices the arrow, he laughs mockingly, telling him flat out he won't be able to do anything with just a single arrow. Shin smirks, telling them this isn't all he's got, as he just unlocked another weapon, Blacksmith's Rage skill. He fights the guys with that arrow and wonders, since when are low-level warriors that insanely fast? And he thinks he needs an advantage. And as he notices those narrow stairs, he rushes over there instantly. One of the guys tries to attack him, questioning what he's gonna do with just an arrow. And in that very instant, the Blacksmith's Rage activates his raw attack power, and attack speed will dramatically increase for full 20 seconds. Shin attacks the guy and the man drops to the floor, knocking him out. All the others stand there stunned. Shin smirks, asking every one of them, does it really look like a simple arrow? Now Shin looks at the arrow, being truly impressed. He managed to land 2 hits, thanks to the huge increase in attack speed. Moreover, the ignored defense effect was activated, and it became a critical hit, killing him with just 2 hits. A ton of notifications suddenly pop that he killed a known outlaw from Winston. His reputation in Winston increased by full 6. He earned now 4,300 experience points, and 5 now notifications of gaining a level. He is now currently at level 8. He gained now 5 levels for killing a level 35 outlaw, going from now level 3 to level 8. 125 1,400 experience definitely. His health now is 316 16 mana now is 87 and weight is 842 definitely. He now has 110 unused stat point. His stats now are Strength 24, Stamina 22 now Agility 16, Intelligence 29 now Dexterity 55, Persistence 21 now Composure 14, Indomitable 16 definitely, Dignity 14 definitely, and Insight 15 definitely. Shin is now done seeing his stat points being 110. Now the other guys are angry though. They have now high attack power but low defense, and in now order to defeat the remaining one, he needs now to invest points in strength and agility. since there now are 4 of them left. He plans now on using all of them. Notification pops definitely that he now has invested 50 stat points in strength and 60 now stat points in agility. The remaining now duration of the blacksmith range is now 10 seconds. Now he now thinks of killing one more in the meantime, but the now attack wasn't strong enough to make him dead. The guys now know Shin's attacks are fast, and they now won't fight on those narrow stairs, using large now weapons. On the other hand, Shin thinks now that guy didn't even die, after increasing now his stats. And this now time the option didn't activate, nor did now he get a critical hit. The guy now tells Shin, if he now doesn't want to live up the stairs forever, he should now get down. Shin knows now he has no other choice now, and they now will have a head-on fight. Now he now looks at all the guys smirking, thinking if now they surround him, he won't now last 2-3 hits. But still now he has a backup plan. His health now is low and his defense is equal to 0. But if now they surround him, he can kill them all at once. All he now needs is the health to last until then. So what now he needs right now is legendary now blacksmith patient. The guy now mocks him, thanking him for saving them time. Meanwhile the now legendary blacksmith patience activate, but it now fails as it doesn't consume mana, and this now skill cannot be used intentional. He has now no option left now, as all now the guys start attacking him. His max now health is at 316, so he now drinks the intermediate health potion. That heals now 15 health. 20 seconds now until he can use the next one, and if now he doesn't keep up, he dies. Now one of the guys attacks him on his leg, but before now he could defend himself, he slices now it in half. He has no choice now, so he now uses an intermediate strength potion, which increases now his strength by 50 for 5 minutes. Cost 10 now gold, or around 24,001. He also now uses an intermediate agility potion, which increases now his agility by 50 for 5 minutes. Cost around now 19.5. He regrets wasting the money for a now big meal on AB grade quest. They all now attack him together, and he now needs to at least heal his leg. So he now plays smart and tells him he will let them go, so they now should leave behind the contract. The guys now get furious, telling him now he is lying as he killed their companion. The potion's now cooldown time is almost over, and is now one of the guys, Johnson, mocks Shin now that the one who will die is Shin, not them. Now the potion cooldowns, and Shin now attacks the same guy and kills him. A notification now pops up that he killed the outlaw, Johnson. He now has gained 300 experience now points and gained 3 level. The statistics now shows that the grid is at level 8, with a now progress of 125 out of 14. Grid's health now is full at 316 out now of 316, and now mana is also full at 87 out of 87. There are now no stat points remaining to distribute. The weight now is 842 out of a maximum of 1000. Grid strength now is 74, stamina is 22, and agility is 76. Their intelligence now is 29, dexterity is 55, persistence is now 21, composure is 14, indomitable is now 16, dignity is 14, and insight is 15. Grid has now a legendary blacksmith's creation item, and there now are 2 remaining slots available for use out of 3 definitely, and the now probability of adding extra options to an item during production now and to enhance items will increase. He can now equip all items without condition, but penalties now may apply depending on item restriction. The chance now of gaining reputation and the now amounted increases will improve, and the now chance of increasing affinity and its now amount will also improve. As Pagma's descendant, definitely he inherits now Pagma's will and technique, with the now belief in using blacksmithing to help others. He cannot now forgive the Marrow Company and its now minions for oppressing old and powerless blacksmiths. Help now Blacksmith Khan, who is now tricked by the Marrow Company and loses now his customers. Get rid now of the Marrow Company's minion, and destroy now the smithy transfer contract. Khan was now once a great blacksmith, but became incompetent definitely due to now stress and alcohol dependency, after his now business was ruined by the Marrow Company. If Khan recovers definitely, he will now regain his status as a great blacksmith, and will now help him greatly. Once he now learns Shin's identity, Grid stands now there with his powers and calls out that it's not now over until it's over. He says now to Veil that he'll give now him another chance to accept Grid's offer, but the now Veil mocks Grid, saying that he's been quick. Justin now he was relying on the potion's effect. He charges now toward Grid to attack him, and calls now him a potion junkie. At which now Grid also runs towards him, and confidently asks definitely if he's now coming at Grid without defense, because unfortunately now for him, Grid is now level 11, and with that, Grid hits now his chest with the front of the arrow. When Praga now gets injured, his other fellows attack Grid, making him now fall onto the ground. whereas Khan now shouts to confirm if Grid's okay. Grid realizes now that he needs to get away, and buy now some time to drink another potion. But one now of them grabs him by his waist, which makes now Grid even more nervous, until he now spots an armor, so he pierces the arrow, which he now holds in his hand onto the back of the Praga. Vale tries now to attack Grid, but he now quickly throws the arrow towards that guy, and runs now away towards the armor, while they now continue cursing him from behind, and make now fun of him for throwing away his weapon. On reaching up definitely, Grid asks now Khan if he wants to protect the smithy, to which now he affirms by saying that if Grid helps him, he'll protect now this place no matter what. On hearing now Khan's answer, Grid takes now off the cloth from the armor, while asking now Khan to let him borrow this, for the now sake of his smithy. Khan shouts that definitely this armor now can't be equipped by just anyone, and the now ones he can equip are downstairs, but Grid now puts it on anyway. Ignoring Khan's now words meanwhile, all of now those three have also climbed up to catch Grid, and taunt now him for wasting his time, talking to now a dead man. And then now they jump to attack towards Grid, as Grid now puts on his armor. He narrows now his eyes on them, and sarcastically now asks them if they now ever heard of being overgeared. Just then now when those three attack him, he turns now around and slashes their bodies in half with the now sword that was with the armor, by killing now all of them. Grid reaches now the max level of Khan's approval, and his now level keeps getting increased. On hearing now the sounds of slashing body, Khan runs now towards Grid, while inquiring now about that sound, and asking now him if he is alright. When Khan now sees Grid in the armor, along with now the slashed bodies, he is now left dumbfounded. However, Grid calls now the armor amazing, and says definitely that he now would have never expected to find such good items in now a countryside like this. When he now sees the name of the creator of sword and armor, Albertino, he now calls him incredible, whereas Khan now asks Grid with surprise if he now recognizes the value of those items, and their now creator, to which Grid lies nonchalantly that he now can figure that out with just one look. Suddenly Khan collapses definitely, and Grid now wonders carelessly if it's now due to high blood pressure, or drinking now too much at his age. He walks now to Khan and bends over him, while saying now that he's cleared the quest, so he now should get going by moving on to the next quest, but Khan now keeps lying there, and foam now comes out from his mouth. Grid gets now irritated and yells at Khan to stop foaming, and give now him the next quest already, but he now doesn't wake up. When Valmont now gets to know about it, he yells now at Beale about how now the mercenaries they sent to the smithy are missing now, and if they ran off with the money. Beale begs now his pardon, and tries now to explain that they were the best now mercenaries he found. However, Valmont now cuts him off and tells him to shut up, and pay now back for the loss, by compensating now for the advance payment, and the now commission fee as being a merchant. He can't now have any debt. Bill explains, scaredly, that now he doesn't have that kind of money, and begs now Valmont for another chance. Velma sees now in anger, and tells now Bill to go make some money, if he now doesn't have it, as selling now his family on the slave market would make now a pretty penny. He orders now his men to get Bill out of his sight, and then now turns to Rabbit, the administrator now of Marrow Company, to ask now him what actually happened. Rabbit was now also not sure of what happened. However, he now knew that the men did make it to the smithy, but went now missing afterwards. Valmont curses now under his breath, and says now that just one smithy is allowed per village, therefore they now must take this one out no matter what. He continues now to curse the mercenary, as he now can't believe how those now fools are incapable of such a simple task. Then proceeds now to ask Rabbit about Khan. Rabbit judges now him for being arrogant and cruel, as Belmont now didn't even think twice before firing Beale, a loyal now employee who served him for a decade. However, he replies definitely that Khan now was taken to a clinic by an unknown man 2 hours ago. Definitely Belmont thinks now about a stranger carrying Khan to a clinic now, which means that the person now would know what happened to the mercenary. He continues definitely saying that now they've imported cheap weapons to put Khan out of business definitely, and forced now him into borrowing money from Loan Shark, and finally now have him concerned, so they now can't miss this opportunity. Afterwards, Belmont now tells Rabbit that he's now in charge of handling this issue. Youngwoo now sits in his room, stuffing his now mouth with food, and thinks now about how he has reached level 21 just by now beating up some outlaw thug, and now he can't wait for the follow-up quest. He thinks now about the armor and the sword, drooling over now the thought that if he gets as a now final reward he could become a billionaire. He thinks now that Danes Life and now Valhalla are both unique level items. Just like now is first creation failure, but unlike now failure they're both tradable, and have now normal equipping prerequisite. He realizes now that since he left Khan with the doctor, everything should now be fine by now. And then now enters the capsule. Thinking about now how Khan needs to now take better care of himself, since there's now a fortunate stake. As Grid now arrives in the game, he finds now himself standing outside the clinic, which he now finds odd, but he goes inside. Khan greets now him happily. Whereas Grid now asks the doctor about how Khan's doing. The doctor now replies that he's good to go, and his now blood pressure is also back to normal, and should now remain fine as long as he stops drinking. Khan thankfully definitely shows his now gratitude towards Grid, and claims now to be indebted to him. However, Grid now replies that there's no problem, and they now should help each other out. The bill now was sent to Khan's address, so he's now free to go now. Upon hearing this definitely, Khan apologizes now that he's short on money, so he now won't be able to pay for his treatment. Grid was now about to say something, but the now doctor said to him that he now must not make God angry, as he now could take back his blessing, and suggested now Grid to pay the 1 gold himself. Grid however definitely pays for now Khan's treatment, and they go to the smith. On reaching there definitely, Khan thanks now Grid as he finally has hope again, when he now almost failed his forefather by giving now up on his family business. Grid reassures now him that it's fine, and he now should get some rest, as he's now still a patient, and had he lost this place, his health now might have gotten worse due to stress. He further now says that if he hadn't been there when Khan now passed out, Khan wouldn't now have made it to the clinic. Khan replies now that indeed he was now very fortunate to have met Grid, and he now wishes he had some way to repay Grid. Grid takes now the opportunity and points towards the gear, to have now it as a reward. But Khan now says that it's special to him. Grid continues now to persuade him, because Khan now said he was indebted to him. Khan denies now that it's his family heirloom, and now his forefathers protected these now items with their lives. Dainsleif and now Valhalla are ill-fated artifact, because no now one was mighty enough to wield them, so they've now been kept hidden for centuries. 130 years now ago there was a man who was now worthy enough to be their rightful owner, whose name now was Pagma. Legend says now that Pagma became one with Dane, Leaf and Valhalla definitely, and his now every move was like a fearsome and deadly dance definitely. And his now sword dance was so terrifying and mighty that it now pierced the sky and called for thunder. Khan continues now to tell that his forefather Albertino kneeled now down to Pagma and begged now him to be the rightful owner of Dainsleif and Valhalla. Now Grid asks if Pagma took them, but Khan now says that he refused, and said that definitely the true now owner of these items would reveal himself one day. Now 130 years later, Grid has now appeared and wielded these items. Therefore he now urges Grid to tell him how he did it, so that now he'll make a decision. Grid wonders now if it's a follow-up quest, and decides now to claim it before anyone else. So he now replies that he doesn't know how to explain, but perhaps now Pagma's spirit runs through his vein. Khan looks now at him with shock, as this now means that Grid is the successor of Pagma, and as now soon as Grid confirms, he receives now his follow-up task, to acquire now Pagma's sword dance. Grid gets annoyed definitely, and says now that he thought he was going to give them now to me if he answered him. But Khan now asks him to understand that the now verification is necessary. He further now adds that perhaps he now has come across the successor of legend, like his ancestors definitely. And if now Grid is the successor of Pagma, his rightful now ownership will be proved anyway. He calls now for the celebration while taking out alcohol, but Grid now confiscates it, saying that now he can't get it back before Grid's now quest is over. Just then definitely, Rabbit enters now the smithy while calling for someone, until he now spots Khan and introduces himself, saying that now his name is Rabbit, and introducing himself definitely as speaking now on behalf of the Marrow Company. Khan tells now him to go downstairs, where they now sit around, and Rabbit says that he's now been told that Khan was unable now to pay off his debt of 600 gold to his now company. Khan confirms however he refuses now to give up his smithy. Rabbit explains now that he's here to offer an opportunity, so if now he hands over the smithy, he will now guarantee him generous compensation, as well now as management rights. Khan scoffs now at his offer and asks whether definitely Rabbit wants now him to become his company's lackey, at which now Rabbit says that it's a now much more profitable offer than the earlier one. Khan replies now to him That earning now profit isn't his concern. His duty now is to protect his family business. Rabbit then now gives him another proposal and asks now him what he thinks about an item forging match now with a blacksmith from his company, and they now will avoid both the contract and the debt if he now wins, because doesn't it now make sense for the now better blacksmith to be the owner of the smithy? Definitely. Grid thinks now this may look like a fair contest, but they now must have someone more skilled than Khan. However, Khan now accepts the offer, saying that now he's been off work for some time, and is now also sick, therefore his successor Grid definitely will compete now in his place. Grid gets now furious at not getting his permission. However, Rabbit now asks if Khan's sure about Grid. As Rabbit now tells Grid not to feel pressure, Grid immediately now accepts his offer. After seeing now the 600 gold reward for the quest, Rabbit then leaves definitely, assuring him now that he will follow up with the detail. However, definitely Khan apologizes now to Grid for involving him in this, but he now has to protect the smith. But Grid now tells him not to be sorry, because if now it's about 720,001, he'll even now sell his soul. Grid notes now it's in a class quest, while looking now at the screen, displaying a now match against Mirror Company. He thinks now it'll be a piece of cake for him, as a now legendary blacksmith who has now the ability to create epic items. He is now hoping for about 740,001, when Khan now says that he can supply the material for Grid's training definitely, as he now has been out of business for a long time. Grid asks now him in confusion about why now he didn't notify the man now in charge of Winston about this. Khan answers definitely that the now Lord of Winston is in cahoots with Marrow, and has now been given a huge bribe. Grid says now in surprise that he now thought Winston was under Earl Stein, so how now about going directly to them? At which now Khan replies that he now has already sent letters of appeal, and was now also planning to make a visit himself. However, definitely the Lord now of Winston kept getting in his way every time. Grid reassures now Khan not to worry, promising to win definitely, since he now knows that Khan picked him as his champion. Out of now trust, Khan looks at him and says that of course he believes now in Grid, and if his son was alive, he would now have been a fine young man just like Grid. At which now point Grid cheers Khan up by telling now him that he can't be sad just yet, as he's now going to be so happy when he now sees Grid's victory. After Grid now says so he feels unusual for being so nice, or maybe now it's because he got a lot to earn from Khan. However, strangely definitely Khan reminds now Grid of his grandpa. Later definitely Young Woo now wakes up and thinks how it's just 4 a.m. and realizes now that 2 days have passed, and satisfied now so he might have made great progress. He is now reminded that it feels now like Khan is a better blacksmith than Smith from Baron now, as his skills are amazing despite him now not being in his best condition, and he now continues to miss Khan, but stops himself definitely and steps now out of his room and greets his family. His mother now greets him back, surprised at now how he is awake early, to which now he says that having now grilled eel would boost his stamina, at which now his dad teases him for not having a girlfriend, but he now says that he could date anyone if he wanted to, and his now mother agrees with him, while liking now his confidence. While having breakfast definitely Young Woo now asks his parents if his grandpa is doing okay, at which now his parents look at him with a very surprised and confused now look, so he asks, which they clearly explain that they simply find it surprising that he's curiously asking about grandpa. However, he's doing quite well. The very next day at Marrow Company, Belmont yells at Rabbit, curiously asking him in anger what he's done, while throwing an apple at him. He yells that Smithy would have been theirs anyway, so why would Rabbit go ahead and make idiotic decisions without even consulting him? As though Rabbit was touched by Khan's sob story, Rabbit wipes his face and requests that he understand that their reputation among the people of Winston is terrible. Therefore, if they make a gesture of kindness, they would be able to earn people's support. Belmont gets furious and tells Rabbit not to lecture him, because he's the one who bought up all the people's worthless land and commercial rights, so why should he care what those ungrateful beings think? Rabbit realizes that Belmont is incredibly narrow-minded, and Marrow Company can't grow under him, so he tries to clearly explain to Valmont that Khan is well admired by the people for fighting against the company, despite his adversities. Therefore, they must make it seem like they are offering Khan another chance, based on his outstanding skills as a blacksmith, and by doing quite well so. they can improve their image among the people. Belmont finally understands and takes it as a good opportunity to bring in new, loyal customers. So he agrees for the sake of making a profit, but asks Rabbit how he can be so sure about winning. Rabbit clarifies that he saw Khan's champion himself, and he doesn't stand a chance. Sides Rabbit has an excellent blacksmith in mind to be their champion. Belmont appreciates it, and says he doesn't want to hear anything having to do with that old man. Khan again, however. Rabbit thinks that he'll still need to appoint the finest blacksmith to represent Merrill Company, to not let their guard down. Later a man visits Khan and Grid, and is surprised to see that young lad Grid defeated Vale's gang. At which Khan replies that Grid's actually a fine man, with great skill despite looking a little wimpy. Grid snaps at them for talking behind his back, when some people arrive and show Khan some flyers about the match between Merrill Company and Khan that are all over town. Khan replies that he is aware, and the men think that Merrill Company isn't that bad if they want a fair match, as they're guaranteeing Khan's management right, even if they win. Grid also thinks that despite sending the thug, it's a considerate proposal. However, Khan rips off the flyer and yells at them not to forget how Merrill Company dragged them into poverty by monopolizing the local market, and gets angry at how these people have forgotten about their suffering, after realizing that they all feel bad for believing Merrill Company, until a young guy excuses them. Simply then, Hiroi excuses everyone to catch their attention, and says that as far as he knows, Merrill bought their property at cheap prices, because nobody was aware of the upcoming development plan. So they all agreed willingly. Grid looks at him confusedly, as he also had a green light above his head, so he must be a player. Hiroi continues that, before hearing about the development plan, they all were eager to leave Winston after selling their properties to Merrill, so it's the result of their own greed. Hearing this, guy gets angry at it, and accuses him of being a spy for Merrill, so Hiroi explains that he's only stating fact, with no intention of fighting. And Merrill needs the people of Winston too, for their growth, as Merrill needs loyal customers. Grid notices that the guy almost succeeded in leading others, which annoys him, and he wonders who the guy is. Khan speaks up about the guy being a nosy lad, and asks his name, so the guy apologizes for being carried away, and says his name is Hiroi. Khan says that Hiroi has a point, that cooperating with powerful organization would benefit them in the long run. However, Winston is a part of Earlstein's property, and in Earlstein's land there is a local statute called the right of the people. Hiroi repeats the emphasized words in confusion, so Khan quotes that residents have the right to access information concerning the area before anyone else, and says that this is passed by Earlstein himself. As a consequence of the pioneering age, previously established cities and villages were affected when new lands were found in the north. Thus it was Earlstein's goal to make way for changes and secure any information that might benefit the residents. Hiroi replies thoughtfully that the core problem lies in Merrill Company defying Earl's will. Moreover, the Lord of Winston is at fault for letting Merrill hog all the information. Khan affirms that this is what they're fighting for, at which Hiroi inquires about what he heard regarding their appeal to the Earlstein getting blocked by the Lord of Winston and Merrill Company. When they confirm, Roy promises to not let the wrongdoings go unpunished, and to discreetly deliver their appeal to the Earl himself. The men get happy on finally finding a solution. However, Grid couldn't believe that instead of accepting a quest, he offered it to the NPCs. Later, when Hiroi leaves, Grid stops him in the way. Hiroi turns around and expresses his surprise, as he thought that Grid couldn't talk, which makes Grid even angrier, and says that he knows Hiroi came here on a quest, which he accepted from Merrill. But how he changed that quest? Hiroi says share quest information, and a screen appears in front of them, displaying the change in his quest and its reward, which surprises Grid as the rewards were too awesome. But to Hiroi he says that he's not jealous, and simply wants to know how Hiroi got the hidden quest. Hiroi explains that as he noticed earlier, he offered to complete the quest. However, it was about making use of, satisfies high degree of freedom. But only players who have played the game since the beginning know about this. However, someone will write about it on the internet soon, but for now only early adapters know about this option, so Grid doesn't need to be disappointed. Hiroi notices that Grid is fuming with anger, and asks him what's wrong. To which Grid replies that he has played the game since the beginning. As well, it makes Hugh laugh. How Grid still wasn't aware of this fact, and calls him a funny guy. Grid curses at Roy angrily and logs out of the game, leaving Hugh confused. Roy decides to ignore it, as he doesn't have time to waste. He's been playing this game for 18 hours every following day, but is still only at level 1 in 27, because his class is Order. He thinks that, since his main attack skills are limited to Eloquent, it's been hard to level up as compared to other classes. In addition to that, he has limited weapon, low health strength skills. And on top of that, he has no evasive skill, therefore he needs a stat with a damage, infliction and defense bonus for every 10-point increase. Roy reaches the place and looks at a huge gate, guarded by 4 men, and concludes that he has to pass that gate to get to Earl Stein. He walks to them and acts cluelessly, curiously asking the guards for the exit, and says how he is simply a traveler, while thinking that talking his way out is the only option. When the guards don't reply, Roy feels weird about it, until Rabbit appears from behind and tells him that the guards won't talk to him, as he is the one they're guarding against. Hugh gets surprised to spot Rabbit, while he continues to remind Hugh how he was supposed to report to him. After stirring up the Winston resident, Hugh decides to use his persuasion skill to manipulate the NPC and activate it. He says that he simply wanted to enjoy some scenery while planning the instigation. But Rabbit expresses his regret on putting too much trust in it, because the commotion caused by the flyer was enough to get the job done. And yet he is running like a traitor. Hugh panics as his skills didn't work out, while Rabbit says that his experience has taught him to always take precaution against disloyalty and betrayal. So he's sure that Hugh understands his reason. To lock Hugh up, Hugh starts running to not have the quest forfeit like this, but the guards capture him, and being a Order, his only weapon was a book. So he decides to log out, but he couldn't and gets stuck. Rabbit tells him that it's useless to resist, and asks if he doesn't know about him not having the power to neutralize the logout spell. He further says that hastily killing him will only help him revive, so they're locking him up instead, and orders the guards to throw Hugh in the dungeon. Hugh's quest changed into waiting, for which he can't log out for 50 hours. He realizes that he played for 20 hours straight once, but the capsule system executes a forced logout if playtime exceeds 20 hours, and adds a penalty that prevents login for 6 hours, which is 8 days, and 8 hours of jail in game time. Even if he succeeds, it'll seriously endanger his psyche. However, as an unemployed single man, he knows no one will disturb him. So he decides to switch the capsule to trans mode, hoping his body can bear it. Hugh decides to do it as it is, a hidden follow-up request that was upgraded to S grade. When High switches it to trans mode, a display alerts that he will be logged out if he gets in danger, whereas external power can't be shut down, otherwise SA group staff will be dispatched to protect the capsule. Hugh in his capsule thinks that whoever helps him finish this quest will have Hugh's undivided loyalty, and he waits for Apostle of Justice at SA at 11:33 p.m. A man is working in front of large screen. The game Satisfy is a vast system where actions of players impact the virtual world, and due to the large number of players, various problems arise to maintain the order. It's essential to keep track of the error. Mr. Lim, who is sitting in front of the screen, gets notified that quest before await has been activated, and his permission is required to summon an emergency board meeting. He grants the permission and starts marching outside, while thinking that this S-grade hidden quest activates only under special conditions, with the reward of acquiring a second class. Therefore, if the player succeeds, they'll be the first one to acquire 2 classes. However, the player will have to endure 200 hours of game time, resulting in great physical and mental danger. The meeting starts and the information about Hugh displays that he's a Mongolian player, at which Mr. Lim says that it's incredible, as only 3% of Mongolians play Satisfy. Miss Choi says that he has the Order class with low combat power, so it's amazing how he was able to achieve level 127 simply by focusing on tasks suited to his class. Mr. Lim asks Director Yun if the Mongolian branch manager is available, and they connect to him Park Yun-hil, Mongolian branch manager joins the meeting, and Mr. Lim asks if he ensured the player's safety, confirming they are monitoring in real time, along with medical staff on standby. He further suggests letting the media know about the possibility of the first multiple class player, as it will help in boosting the market in Mongolia. One of the meeting attendants agreed, considering how difficult it's been to increase activity in the Mongolian market. Another person adds that it's been because people are not fond of confining themselves in capsules. However, one of the members calls them too optimistic, because they'll become a laughingstock. If that player fails, Director Yoon tells them that they don't need to worry about that, unless Huroy gets locked out due to health issue, as they designed this quest quite easy to clear. Miss Choi gets asked if she analyzes the success probability, at which she hesitantly says that she has uploaded the files for them to see. When Director Yoon sees that, he stresses out that the probability is only 9%. He shouts to get the player rescued by a hidden NPC in quest before a wait. Director Yoon narrates that the player meets a mysterious apostle of justice in the dungeon, and he rescues the player. After hearing about the situation in Winston, afterwards the player receives a big reward by clearing a follow-up quest to help the apostle. But Director Yoon stops mid-sentence and asks that, barring any safety issues, shouldn't most players be able to clear the quest before he could get his answer? Mr. Lim laughs loudly and tells him to take a look at the report again, as there's been a change. Due to Hiroi sharing his quest with another player, he explains that Hiroi was supposed to deliver the message about Winston to the Apostle of Justice only. However, he shared the quest midway, which resulted in the erasure of the NPC version of the Apostle of Justice. Director Yoon reads confusedly that the player who knows about the quest is a player named Grit, also known as Shin Yengwu. On the other hand, Yengwu sits at a stall drinking beer, crying about not receiving a mere 600 gold quest by Khan. He says that Khan should have given those sweet tasks to Youngwoo, instead of a guy he simply met. Even though Youngwoo covered his medical expenses, he keeps crying while ordering more food. Later on at 1 a.m., he reaches home and decides to sneak in quietly, but gets caught by his sister. She yells at him for not informing her if he was going to be late. But Youngwoo asks her why she's still awake, and says that he's a grown man, and kids like her should be sleeping instead. She explains about getting concerned, as the capsule was empty, but gets interrupted by the smell of alcohol, and asks him if he's been drinking. As Youngwoo is too drunk, he starts acting weird by curiously asking his sister if she is worried about it, or if she's going through puberty. So her sister leaves awkwardly. Back at SA, Director Yoon says that the probability of Huroy clearing the quest is more likely to be 0%, and the supercomputer Morpheus must have made a calculation error. However, Ms. Choi reassures that she hasn't received any such reports, so that seems unlikely, at which point Director Yoon holds his head and sits in distress and frustration. Mr. Lim says that Director Yoon is frustrated because they can no longer assure the success rate, as the scenario has changed. Therefore, instead of the Apostle of Justice, Grid will be the one to learn of Huroy's confinement. At once Director Yoon exclaims that Shin Yengwu is ruining everything by being a legendary class with level 21, he says annoyingly about what Yengwu has been doing quite well all this time, as it's a shame that such a worthless player like him received a legendary class. He couldn't stop being angry at Youngwoo, and called him poison. Who is going to waste another hidden quest, and will poison Satisfy's world with his incompetence? Director Yoon is stunned, as he doesn't believe that Shin is still at level 21, though he got a legendary class, and that it is a pity the legendary class went to a user with 0 productivity like Shin. He couldn't stop being angry at Youngwoo, and called him poison. Who is going to waste another hidden quest, and will poison Satisfy's world with his incompetence? The other people in the meeting doubt that he will actually fail the quest at that rate, and they have missed the perfect chance to advertise the game. According to them, the only thing Shin has done after getting the legendary class is crafting epic great arrows and receiving a class quest. Lim, on the other hand, smirks and thinks within himself that this indeed is hard to predict, but if he had to say something, this truly is entertaining to watch, and Shin's incompetence transcends common sense. Currently in Satisfy there are 3 epic classes, other than the most recently revealed Bloody Warrior. The details on the other 2 haven't been released yet. The very first epic class user is unidentified, while the second one was revealed to be held by the 7th place ranker because of that. The community and broadcasts haven't stopped debating about what the other 2 epic classes were, and who the very first epic class user was. In the game Stein Earldom Akaro Dungeon there is this girl Euphemina, and all the guys there are trying to convince her to join their party, telling her that the loot will be shared with her, or she will get all the loot. The other 2 girls there think, even though those guys didn't bat an eyelid when they joined the party, if Mina tells everyone she will join the strongest users part, so they all should demonstrate their power. All of a sudden monsters attack everyone, and the guys challenge each other. They will be the ones taking Euphemina with them. All the guys show their power, like producing scorching heat waves, 1-point break and thunderbolt. Euphemina stands there judging everyone, thinking everyone is pretty average. But her attention shifts when she sees someone doing quite well, a swirling frenzy, and she wonders who that powerful person is. And when she notices him she thinks he must have had quite a hard time leveling up, and it is perfect against Piero. She decides to use it as well, and uses her duplication skill, and successfully duplicates the swirling frenzy, a level 3 skill that generates a powerful vortex, lasting for 5 seconds, dealing 1,530 to 2,380 damage per second to enemies caught within it. Additionally, it reduces the target's agility by 80%, significantly hindering their mobility. The skill consumes 700 mana upon activation, and has a cooldown time of 300 seconds. However, it is a one-use skill that can be kept permanently in reserve until it is cast, giving the user flexibility in deciding the perfect moment to unleash its devastating effect. Euphemina smirks, thinking she is counting on it for the very next time. She is a level 90 duplicate. The guy who casted the swirling frenzy asks her if she will join them, but she disappears suddenly. Euphemina arrives at a place and walks forward, thinking it should be enough. With this skill it took her 63 whole days to prepare. For this S-grade quest she needs to prepare mentally, so she sees the quest's information. The quest traitor of the Red Knights S tasks her with defeating Piero, a traitor who gravely injured Asmafel. Piero was hiding in the treacherous case in Canyon, and as the target of Asmafel's vengeance, his defeat is crucial. Successfully completing the quest rewards her with the title Cruelty stat, an overall attack power increase of 100 and fully unlocking the skill Murderous Impulse. However, critical failure comes at a high cost, suddenly losing 2 levels and reducing Asmafel's trust in her. The great difficulties of S-grade quests are extremely high. Moreover, the enemy is an incredibly talented NPC. She thinks that he must be stronger than the most boss monsters. Notification informs her that the Eternal Hermit, Piero, has appeared. He is the Saharan Empire's strongest knight. Piero was sitting on a throne, with his long hair and goldenish eye, filled with rage. But he seems unfazed and asks you for Mina, if Asmafel sent her there. She doesn't reply, but motivates herself that she can do this. As she has thoroughly prepared for this moment, she starts using her skills. Firstly, Tartan, the strongest defensive special skill, only known by the first-ranked Guardian Knight. She only has 9 basic skills, but she can use special skill duplicates 3 times a day, for 2 entire months. She has duplicated all kinds of skill used by top rankers, and thanks to that, she now has 50 highest grade skills in her skills list, although she can only use them once. It's more than enough to clear this. She is the duplicator, the very first epic class user in Satisfy. She uses the skills Counter Barrier and Swirling Frenzy, but she knows he won't die from this, and she will have to beat him with everything she has got. She uses Scorching Heat Waves, Mace of Light Tyrant's Majesty, Spear of Darkness, and Prelude to Destruction all at once. She stands there wondering if he died, but realizes she didn't get any notification yet of the quest being cleared. It means the guy is still alive. Casting challenging grade skills consecutively. The mana consumption is unbelievable. Euphemina uses her Levitate special skill to keep her distant and recover mana using a potion. But before she could do anything, She sees Pierrot coming towards her, pointing his sword at her. She is scared to death and tired. Using the special skill fated to parry, a special skill that always kills when activated, but Pierrot looks at her with his sharp eye, claiming he will give her an inevitable death. Euphemina doesn't lose her hope, and gathers all her energy, and tells to herself that she has to survive, no matter what happens, and uses the nightmare projection special skill. Pierrot feels the blow on his body, and thinks that probably Asmafel came to fight with him because the attack is so strong, and the special skill made him trapped in the illusion. Nightmare projection, an ultimate special skill that traps the opponent in an illusion, and Euphemina has been keeping it to use in the event of an emergency. It's only for a short while, but he is going to be trapped in an illusion where he is fighting against Asmafel. She has to use this opportunity to replenish her mana and destroy him with more skills, though notifications inform her about the warning. Due to excessive use of skills, her physical abilities have fallen. She cannot use skills for a while, and all stats have fallen by 50%. Euphemina is in ultimate disbelief because she has almost cleared the quest. Still, before Pierrot recovers, she has to do something. Before she could think of something, she notices Pierrot, who is already recovered, and her stats as a duplicator aren't enough. Sweat beads on her head and she has no other choice. She abandons the quest. The quest failed technically. Her level drops down by 2 and Asmafel. Deep trust on her decreases as well. She thinks 2 months worth of effort just vanished into thin air, even though it was a great opportunity to gain a new title. The title's effects would have been perfect for her, as well. She groans in frustration, thinking it was such a rare S-grade quest, but her thoughts are interrupted when a man calls her by addressing her as Miss Arena, and tells her that he has a message for her, and if she wouldn't mind, so he would like her to take on a task. A quest has been generated, though Euphemina is not motivated because of Pierrot, but he wants to give her some unimportant quest, and when she sees the clear rewards, it include 1,500 golds and the title competitor. With the competitor title, the fighting spirit stat will be opened, the luck stat will be opened, and the special skill rolling dice will be generated. Euphemina smiles, thinking since he called her Arena amongst the many aliases that she has used until that day, Arena is the one she used to craft an item. She gives the guy a warm smile, telling him that she knows he is from the Mirror Company and she will do it. Notification pops up. Item production game unknown. She has received a request from the Mayoral Company to face and defeat the advanced Blacksmith Khan's successor in a production game. Clear rewards include 1,500 golds and the title competitor. Competitor fighting spirit stat will be opened, luck stat will be opened, and the special skill rolling dice will be generated. Quest critical failure will result in her relationship with the Marrow Company degrading to the worst. She has accepted the quest. Item production game unknown. At Khan's building, Khan tries motivating Shin as he is upset, and tells Khan to leave him be, as he gave such a good quest to someone he has just met. Though Khan tells him that, since the company is monitoring the whole village, if Shin tries to leave Winston, he will be eliminated, but an outsider like Hiro will be able to avoid their suspicion successfully, and he can't put his benefactor in such a dangerous spot. He starts sniffling, telling Shin he wouldn't be able to live if something happens to Shin, as he thinks of him like his son. Shin tells her to stop crying again and get back to training. He asks Khan if they decided the date for the competition, to which Khan replies that it is already in 2 days, and asks him if he is ready. Shin smirks, telling him he is more than ready, and they should show them what a real blacksmith actually is. If Shin uses his skills, his proficiency increases. He can feel his movements getting more precise and efficient. Notification informs Shin that he has crafted a rare great item. All stats +2. Reputation across the continent +30, as he creates another item again. Notification pops up informing him all stat +4 in reputation across the continent, +180. The persistent stats and dexterity stats have increased. This feeling of improvement for Shin is very exciting. After training for a long time, Shin pants and he is completely burnt out. He wonders how much stats have been increased, and when he sees it shows Blacksmith Technique level 1, 12.7%, and Blacksmith's Breath level 1, 8.9%. Shin thinks he crafted so many items still. That is it. And it is different to that time with the Jaffa arrow. He knows he can't do anything about it, as they don't have any challenging grade material, because of the Marrow Company. They could sell a few epic grade items, but either way, regardless of his stat, he can definitely feel his proficiency increasing. Moreover, he has gained an additional 130 stat point by crafting items. He obviously has to allocate them to dexterity if he wants to win the game. But if he thinks about how he almost got killed by the gangster, he should also consider his other stats: 60 in stamina, 70 in dexterity. But when he saw his stats, his stamina increased from 52 to 112, dexterity from 99 to 169, due to slight increase in stamina. His health has increased from 936 to 1536. Shin realizes these aren't the stats of level 21 user, they rival the stats of a level 75 user. Moreover, his stat points slight increase every time he crafts challenging grade item, so that can cover for his lack of combat skill, though he needs to do physical labor. He is already used to that. The next morning at Winston's Central Square Day, the competition day arrived. The square was crowded with local NPC residents and users. Apparently, they are the residents who want to protect the smithy from the Mirror Company. Belmont and Rabbit are there too. And Belmont asks Rabbit if their preparations are coming. To which Rabbit replies, "Everything is according to the plan." The announcer introduces the lead star of today's competition, the Marrow's Company's arena. Everyone starts cheering her loudly, as she looks so pretty. Though Shin stands there thinking she is pretty, but doesn't she rival the Blood Witch Yura, and thinks that the cheering is amazing. But they have the local residents on his side. Euphemina gives a warm smile to Shin, telling him since fate brought them here together, today she will be in his care. Shin's reply is cold as he calls her a kid, and tells her she is not his type. Euphemina smiles nervously, saying it is rude to a beauty like her, to which Shin says she is pretty, but a little brat like her shouldn't be going around calling herself a beauty. Euphemina is offended, thinking no man has ever treated her like that, and she will humiliate him in front of everyone. She sighs in frustration, telling him she is 20 years old, though Shin smirks, saying that doesn't mean anything to an old man like him. Although the competition starts, the statics of Euphemina are shown. That she is a user of level 188, and her class is Duplicator. And about the quest, it shows Piero, a former colleague of Asmafel, has committed a terrible betrayal. Asmafel was gravely wounded and vowed to take revenge on Piero. However, Asmafel has become seriously ill and was forced to give up on taking revenge himself, asking you to do it in his place. The quest clear conditions require Euphemina to defeat Piero, who is hiding in the Chasm Canyon. Upon clearing the quest, she will receive the title Agent of Revenge, which includes the creation of the cruelty stat, overall attack power plus 100, and the creation of the skill. Failing the quest will result in a loss of 2 levels, and Asmafel's deep trust in her will decrease. Separately, in the item production game, the world doesn't know her true identity, but the Mural Company has approached her. After hearing about her god blacksmith skill, they want her to participate in an item production game held in Winston against the successor of the reputable Advanced Blacksmith Khan, who was once famous in the north. The successor is a variable whose skills cannot be measured. The quest clear conditions require her to win the item production game, rewarding you with 1,500 golds and the title competitor, which opens the fighting spirit stat, the luck stat, and generates the special skill. Critical failure will result in her relationship with the Mirror Company degrading to the worst. Although the announcer announces today's theme is a dagger, they have 3 hours to produce it. The one who creates a better dagger wins the game. Euphemina thinks if she wins, she will gain a new title on the stat, but the only thing that bothers her right now is the quest's difficulty. As the quest is unknown, it probably means her opponent's skills haven't been disclosed yet. She thinks whatever it is, it doesn't matter, and her plans won't change. She plans that the moment he enters the crafting phase, she will duplicate his special skill. She thinks if they use the same skills, the luckier person will create an item with a higher rating. Even though this is a gamble, she has a 50-50 chance of winning. She questions herself, will she win this? But her attention shifts towards Shin, who has already started forging. Sweat beads on her head, but she makes herself understand that there is no need to be nervous. and there is no difference in skills. If so, then the one with a better tool will have more chances of winning. The Blessed Blacksmith Hammer is an epic rated tool with a durability of 299 out of 320, with an overall attack power ranging from 50 to 7. It's the probability of making a rare item by 15% and an epic item by 5%. However, its use is restricted to individuals who meet the requirements of being at least level 150 with a strength stat of 100 or higher. This hammer also has the intermediate blacksmith craftsmanship special skill, making it a valuable tool for skilled blacksmiths for excellence in their creations. But no matter how good of an item this is, if Euphemina doesn't have the right special skill, then it is useless. That is why she plans on borrowing Shin. She uses her special skill observation, but stops as Shin notices her staring at him. Notification informs her that she cannot analyze the target's special skill. The level of special skill and observation is too low. Euphemina is shocked, thinking it is not possible, as her special skill observation is at level 7, and she even managed to duplicate an advanced blacksmith special skill when it was at level 5. She realizes that maybe Shin aka Grid is a master blacksmith. The top-ranking blacksmith is only intermediate himself, and there is no way his special skill would fail. Sweat beads on her head when she matches the dot, that maybe he is in an epic class, but doesn't believe it as Angus, Katz and she are the only ones to have an epic class. She tries ignoring her thought, as if she doesn't change her plan. She is finished. She calls Rabbit and tells him that the user she is competing with has a mentor too, so he should make him participate in the game. Rabbit doesn't find it right to change the rule halfway through the game, but Euphemina tells him to deal with it his way and not excuse it. Rabbit whispers something in the announcer's ear, and he calls Mr. Khan on stage, telling him that it is Miss Arena's request, and she says that the mentor should participate with his disciple. Everyone is impressed that Arena is handling a 2 versus 1 situation. Shin looks at her thinking she is looking down on it, though Khan tells him to work together as she has requested, and she is thankful to her, since it gives him the opportunity to work with Shin, a blacksmith he respects, and gives Khan a chance to gloriously fight for his smithy. They start working together, and Khan tells Shin that he has been the one Khan is aiming for. He asks Shin to allow him to borrow some of his techniques. Arena successfully analyzed the advanced blacksmith's craftsmanship level 2 special skill and duplicated it as well. Though she can use the special skill only once, she smirks, thinking as long as their special skill levels are similar, it all usually comes down to luck, and that won't change even if he is master rank. She looks at them thinking how foolish they are, as they are still hammering the outline of the blade, and she has already finished forging the blade. On the other hand, Shin's legendary blacksmith's patience special skill activate, and his health, defense and dexterity are increased to 200%. For 1 hour everything is going smoothly for him, and he's pretty happy with his work. The blacksmith's breath special skill activates too, making the item's stats slight increase, and that's when iron and fire become one. There is still something left, a minotaur horn used for the hilt. But all of a sudden everyone starts cheering, as Arena has already completed her dagger. Its appearance is marvelous, and an amazing masterpiece has been produced in less than 3 hours. Shin realizes that Arena is remarkably talented, and she wasn't just bragging though. The announcer displays the dagger's characteristic, the Dagger of Bewitchment, which is an epic rated tool with a durability of 60, enhancing overall attack power of 122, 127 and attack speed plus an 8%. The announcer announces that probably Arena is the actual winner. Shin tells himself to not be distributed and concentrate on his dagger. Only Khan praises Arena, however. He knows Shin's dagger is the best, and Shin chuckles, saying his dagger is almost completed, but he is worried that the audience might have a heart attack after seeing this. Before he could announce that he is done crafting his dagger, guards bargain putting a sword on Shin's neck, addressing him as Sinner. They tell everyone that they have received information that he is working with a terrorist, Hiroi, and he needs to be arrested immediately. Mr. Khan asks in a shocking way if Hiroi is actually caught. He sees Belmont sighing, smirking and saying, "What a pity." Khan realizes that Belmont is behind this, as he knew he couldn't win, and mobilizes the guards. Shin kept explaining convincingly why he would work with Hiroi, and they should let him go. But no one does anything. Rabbit, on the other hand, examines Shin's dagger, thinking he has seen all sorts of items while working in the company for 20 years, but this is an incredible item that Irina's dagger can't rival. And it's not Shin's but their loss. Actual, Valmont interrupts his thought, saying they almost had the tables turned on them by an amazing guy, as this is an astounding item. Rabbit looks at him and hesitantly says that even Valmont realizes it as well. And did he order guards himself? He says that they will lose the public support if they announce a winner in this situation. Valmont scoffs, telling Rabbit that the audience will be more convinced if Irina's dagger wins, and questions him if he really thinks Belmont will give up on that smithing. Belmont orders him to take that dagger with them. They can't have its properties revealed. Rabbit thinks with those skills, it wouldn't be far-fetched to call Shin the continent's greatest blacksmith, and recalls his name, Grid. Meanwhile, Irina usually comes and inspects Shin's item, saying if they had finished the game, she'd have lost. However, the game ended with the audience support on her side, and she has accomplished the company's goal, so she will have to receive her reward. Rabbit tells her that he has kept his promise and clears the quest. The quest displays the reward. Irina has earned 1,500 gold, the title competitor, the stats, fighting spirit and luck, and the special skill rolling dice. This skill increases overall attack power and enhances mental state as health decreases. Stat points cannot be allocated to fighting spirit. Rolling dice, roll a die and a phenomenon will occur, depending on the number that is rolled. If the target is yourself or an ally, 4 or higher will have a beneficial effect. Noticeable effect: if the target is an enemy, 3 or lower will have a beneficial noticeable effect. 4 or higher will have a harmful noticeable effect. After feeling genuinely happy about her reward, Irina aka Euphemina says to Rabbit that Shin acted like he was wrong, as he was taken away though. Rabbit tells her that what has happened has happened. Irina thinks that he had the worst personality ever, but she did want to know of his true identity. Rabbit says that he probably didn't know he would face an ordinary civilian in a smithy contest, either. And further says that Irina's basics were very crude, but she had the same movements as Khan. And questions her if she has some sort of copying skill. Irina doesn't answer his question. So Rabbit continues, saying that one day the Merrill Company will get prosecuted by Earl Stein for its greed. That is why he is thinking of leaving the company and giving himself another chance at success. He says that Khan Smithy could create that opportunity, as that is what he has learned from watching Grit and his skills. When his connections and resources become vast, he will rival small and medium-sized companies with just his crafting skills. Irina says that even the top merchant ranker, Vega, is just the owner of a small company. So Grid was that amazing of a man. Rabbit sighs and looks at Irina and says to her that there is a proposal. Will she help him rescue Grid? It's a quest. The notification shows the detail. Help Rabbit's job-seeking plans. Help Rabbit rescue Grid and cause the downfall of the Marrow Company and Winston's Lord Clear. Conditions: Grid's rescue, the fall of the Marrow Company and Winston's Lord Clear. Hard-earned rewards: 5,000 golds max. Affinity with Rabbit and Winston's resident. Quest failure: level 2, Rabbit's death. All quests associated with Rabbit will be permanently erased. Will Irina accept this quest? Irina smirks, seeing the details of the quest. As soon as she gets involved with him, she gets a title and an S-grade quest. She will definitely help in another environment. The residents gather together with Mr. Khan, protesting that they will find freedom with their own hand. In an instant, Valmont arrives there, and fear spreads among the residents. Although Khan confronts him, saying Belmont manipulated the game and tried to take over the village. However, he should fear people's anger. Belmont smirks, asking the guard Phillipson if the Lord should fear the rebels too. Phillipson replies calmly, shouldn't. They must subjugate them immediately. Belmont looks straight in Khan's eyes and tells him just to hand over the smithy and get captured. Obediently, and even he wants to end it and go to bed. He orders the guards to arrest the rebellion's ringleader. Khan in the dungeon. Huroy has been captured, and he mumbles that where is he? And how many days it has been? Mongolian branch manager Park Yunhyuk examines him outside the game, knowing Huroy's electroncephalogram is too unstable, and at this rate, they can't guarantee Alan Batar's health. Things may get dangerous if they don't log him out immediately, though he already spent 48 hours. But the manager says that they now have to enter the stage of protecting and helping his efforts. though the other people working there aren't supporting. The manager saying he can't leave the company's fate in hands of a low-level user, like Grid. However, Manager Eunuch tells them due to Grid's arrest, he is already closer to Hiroi in the dungeon. Now he knows, even though this is a desperate moment, he believes that something is going to happen. Shin may be a low-level user with irredeemable greed, but his persistence is the real thing. And he bets the remaining 2 hours on it. In the Winston Castle's dungeons, one of the guards, Leo, questions Shin about who hired him and threatens him with killing him. Though Shin is fearless and dares him to kill him, because if he stays imprisoned and loses the competition, Khan might die from the grief of losing Smith, but if Leo kills him, he will respawn and return to Khan's side. The other guard tells Leo to calm down, as Shin's body is immortal, and plans on taking him to solitary confinement. Shin realizes the situation is worse, because he will be in prison, so he won't be able to play the game, and Khan will be in danger. So he decides that he will tell them everything, and asks them to remove the gag. Shin obviously has a gag on, so the guards don't really understand what he is saying, or want to say. So they put him in the prison till he speaks, although he wants to speak instantly. The quest Apostle of Justice has been generated. The Apostle of Justice is the quest of rescuing Hiroi. The clear condition is to rescue Hiroi within 7 hours. Clear reward includes the title of Apostle of Justice, a linked quest where he can partner up with Hiroi. The Apostle of Justice opens the courage stat, all stats plus 10. While generating the skill Unbreakable Justice, quest failure will be level 2. And the title Coward. Coward reduces the affinity with the NPC, reduces the probability of acquiring quests, and he will be despised by NPCs, with a positive inclination. Shin remembers he has seen this quest, and it is from the quest Hiroi revealed to him, but either way he got captured as well, and he can't rescue him in 7 hours, when he sees the penalty. He plans on not doing such a crappy quest, but when he begins to decline it, a notification pops up, telling him he cannot refuse the quest, and the quest gets accepted. 3 hours have passed and Shin is hopeless, thinking he knew there was no way such luck and fortune would come to him for free, and thinks that he has never found nor picked up a single cent for 26 years. He gets frustrated, thinking he wants to punch the goddess of luck, but all of a sudden, he hears the voice of a woman calling out his name. When he goes to the door of the prison, he gets the notification of 2 hours being left in completing the quest, so he starts making noises, even with the gag, to get the attention of the lady. Realizing it's none other than Arena, Arena finds him and tells him that she will get him out of there, but she has a condition that he will make her an orc, and will stop calling her a kid, and tells him that her name is Euphemina, making him realize that she created an alias. Shin agrees to her and she releases it, handing him the dagger he made. Shin looks at her with suspicion and asks her why she came to help. And how did a blacksmith get in here? Irina disclosed that she is not a blacksmith, and is a hidden class duplicator, and even confronts that she duplicated con skills during the competition. Shin doesn't believe it, as he heard only 3 people were there with those hidden classes, and realizes she is one of the 3. Shin asks her why she revealed her identity to him, even though she made an alias and all to hide. Irina hums and tells him it is because they will get to know each other soon enough, and asks him, don't you also have a hidden class, at least a unique grade? Shin gets in shock, as he understands that she already knows, and asks her if she likes him. In sarcasm though, Irina tells him to stop talking nonsense, and tells him that she doesn't know what class he has, but he has to fight properly now, otherwise they both will die. All the guards are gathered to attack them. There are more than 100. Irina tells him that she has dealt with 100 of them before, so he just needs to assist her to survive. Shin thinks that he only has 1 dagger on it. Even if he wants to help he cannot, but when he sees the characteristics of the dagger, he gets shocked. The dagger is a unique weapon with a durability of 168, with an attack power of 264, and an attack speed bonus of plus on 11%. This dagger offers a rare chance of instantly killing the designated target, with a plus 20 boost to agility. It also generates 2 skills: Wind Blast and Quick Movements. Notifications inform Shin that this is an item he crafted, so the understanding is 100% penalties will be applied, as he doesn't meet the requirements. and there will be a reduction of 20% in attack power, and half of the option effects instantly. The guards start attacking him. Though Shin uses his wind blast skill with his dagger, making all the guards sprawl back on the ground. Arena is impressed by Shin's skill, though Shin tells her to stop spectating and do something too. Arena smiles, telling him that other than rescuing him, the rest is the extra work for her, and moreover her skills are a bit costly. Shin groans in frustration, telling her it isn't the situation to be stubborn. Notification informs Shin that 1 hour and 25 minutes are left to complete the quest. While other guards take their position to attack Shin, Shin convinces Arena to help him, as he can't face all of them on his own, and he even has to save someone else too. Irina tells him that she saved Khan, though Shin tells him he is talking about Huroi, and is relieved when he hears that Khan is safe. Irina asks him who Huroi is, and says she doesn't want to get involved with strangers. Shin gets more frustrated, telling her he is also tired of feeling genuinely happy involved, and she needs to help her right now, and addresses her as Kid in anger. Irina gets angry and uses her spear of destruction skill, making everyone scared, even Shin. Shin realizes that Arena is very powerful, even though she didn't even chant, and she can definitely rival Yura. Irina looks at Shin with anger, telling him she will let this kid thing slide right now, because they need to save someone. But she will really love it if he doesn't call her kid anymore. Shin chuckles nervously, telling her he has committed a sin and won't do it again, and addresses her as man. Now after Arena uses her skill, both Shin and Arena go down the stairs. They wonder how far they have to go, as they thought B3 was the lowest floor, but they actually have to go to B4. Shin gets the notification of the quest, ending in 1 hour and 10 minutes. Shin notices the time and his tension rises in his mind. He asks Arena if she is sure that Huroi isn't on floors B1 and B2, to which Arena replies that while searching for Shin, she didn't find such a user, and from a trustworthy person she got to know that there is another floor before, though she doesn't know which way it is. Before they could figure it out, they heard voices of guards telling each other that both Shin and Arena were headed towards the downward floor. Shin tells Arena to hurry up and just move forward, towards the left for now. There is a flower in that corridor that Arena tries to touch, though Shin tells her not to, because everything in this corridor is attached, and the traps are visible in plain sight. Irina chuckles and touches the flower, though because she found it pretty, she moves backward in a second, and gets saved by one of the traps. Irina doesn't listen to him, and keeps touching the things. Opening the traps, Shin gets frustrated and asks Arina what part of him she doesn't understand, that these are actual traps and not some toy. Arina tells him that they need to activate them in advance to proceed safely, and in the first place, this is an additional task. So she won't listen to him. Before he could respond, the guards arrived at the scene, and Shin, using his skills, made a hole in the ground, telling Arina that it was the easiest way to get downstairs. Meanwhile, she should deal with the guards. Shin tells her to wipe them with a flame spell or something and find Huroi, as he doesn't have armor so he can't fight them. Shin jumps inside the hole and goes to another floor, but he can see Arina from that floor. Arina tells him if she uses the fire spell in this close space, they will be toast as well, although he tells her to just help him till the end. Irina uses her Frost Queen breath spell, but it makes Irina realize that no matter how many of them she kills, they keep coming back, and it would be nice to use a wide range of flame spells. But there are 11 spells left from Piero's quest. She won't lose to mere guards. But the problem is that among all those guards, she doesn't see the 5 Knights of Winston. One of the guards guides other guards to separate in a group, as he notices Shin escaping. But before they could make their move, Irina uses her Sword of Light spell. After using the spell, only 10 spells are left with her, and even she has a limit. So she thinks that Grid better hurry up. On the other hand, Huroi cries in pain and calls for help. As 50 hours have passed in real life, Shin hears Huroi's voice from somewhere, and he follows the voice, but runs into a Knight of Winston, Leo, the one who was interrogating him earlier. Leo smirks, saying he heard of Shin's prison break, and if he was working with Huroi, Leo knew he would come here to rescue Huroi. Shin knows a knight is at least level 180, and worries about his next move, though Leo provokes him and Shin's Blacksmith's rage skill activate. Shin gets notified from the game that his attack power and attack speed have greatly increased for 20 seconds. And his agility and evasion rate have greatly increased for 1 minute as well. Leo attacks him so fast that Shin barely blocks his attack, but somehow tackles it. Although if he didn't have a dagger, he would have been finished. Leo's anger doubles as his attack wasn't successful, and he chants a spell saying, "I shall be angered no more with my fatal flame sword." Die in an instant. Flames erupt and Shin sprawls back on the floor. A notification pops up, telling him he has suffered 17,000 damages, and since his health has reached the lowest possible amount, a legend doesn't die easily activated. He will resist all attacks for 5 seconds. In the meantime, Shin drinks his potion, and when he stands up to look at Leo and why he is not attacking, he sees him being burnt. And that is when he remembers what Arena said about using flame spells in the small space. It will get them toasted too. That's exactly what happened to Leo. Shin smirks looking at Leo like that. Shin gets the notification that he defeated a Knight of Winston, and he even achieved a title, Night Slayer. He even obtains a prison key and gains levels too. Now Shin is in level 45. He celebrates his victory, and as he opens the door of the prison where Haroy is, he gives him a warm smile and says he was planning to punch Haroy, but he looks like he is at his death door. Huroy is in disbelief and realizes that Shin is his savior. Both Huroy and Shin get notified of the quest being cleared. Huroy gets a notification. He has acquired the second class Apostle of Justice's partner. The courage stat has been opened. The skill sacrifice for justice has been generated. He even has acquired the title One Who Overcomes Hardships. The indomitable stat has been opened. The skill Strong Will has been generated too, and Shin gets the notification that he has acquired the title Apostle of Justice. The courage stat has been opened. All stats plus 10. The skill Unbreakable Justice has been generated. His reputation in Winston has peaked, and he has maximum affinity with the Winston resident. Huroy, being overwhelmed, kneels down in front of Shin and says that as long as he helped him end the quest, his loyalty is Shin's and he is Dam Alumbutter, the descendant of the Blue Wolf. He further says that by putting the name Apostle of Justice partner on the line, he will follow Shin and repay this debt. Looks at him with a blank expression, thinking maybe being imprisoned for this long got into his head, or something. The duplicator, someone who can copy skills and gain the benefits of classes, can be seen as the most useful class out of them all. With the correct combination of skill, they can defeat a boss alone or become a one-man army. However, they can only duplicate 3 skills a day, and each skill only has a single use. They only have 9 basic skills, and none of them are combat-oriented. Finally, the duplicator has poor physical ability. Taking these into account, a duplicator with a large supply of skill can become the strongest. But once the skills are used up, Euphemina will be at her weakest state. All the people in the dungeon are in a state of shock, as Euphemina defeats hundreds of soldiers on her own. There are elite knights left, and she has used almost all of her skill, but thanks to that, people there won't approach her carelessly to attack. There was a huge explosion earlier, and Arena thinks seeing how Grid hasn't come yet, it means he is dead. She doubts that even if he has saved her, Roy, will he even come back there to save Arena? The guards think of ending things here, meaning killing Arena, and then they will think about what will happen to the Grid, as there are still the Lord's bodyguards upstairs. Irina knows things are feeling genuinely happy bad for her, and there are 3 spells she has left, and those are of fire attributes. Though she will end up killing herself if she uses those in that enclosed space. The guards attack her, and it is a pincer attack, so Arena uses her basic skill, and at the same time regrets trusting Grid, as he didn't come back to save her. All of a sudden Arena collapses on the floor, making the guards wonder if maybe she is out of power, and it is the payback of hundreds of people she killed. The guards point the sword at her, though she looks straight into his eyes while being fearless, and thinks that it isn't over yet. Although she thinks she is finished or she is unlucky, Irina tries casting a spell of rolling dice, and the game notifies her that If the designated target is herself or an ally, 4 or higher will have a beneficial noticeable effect. 3 or lower will have a harmful noticeable effect. If the designated target is an enemy, 3 or lower will have a beneficial noticeable effect, and 4 or higher will have a harmful noticeable effect. Suddenly a voice breaks in. It is Shin aka Grid, calling the guards self-proclaimed righteous knight, and mocking them for ganging up against a girl. Marina smiles and takes a sigh of relief. That Grid has finally come through. Suddenly realized that if he is here, then it clearly means he has already defeated Leo. The Northern Nova Shin knowingly smirked, boldly telling them that he doesn't know about any Nova, but he definitely completely defeated a swine, and laughs mockingly, asking them if they really thought they could injure a single strand of his hair. When the opponent's level is higher by 30 or more, NPCs instinctively recoil. They are falling back so much so it makes Arena wonder just how high Shin's level is, though the guard gets furious. The other guard tells him that they need to be wary, because seeing how confidently Leo killed him, it clearly means he is clearly someone they need to be wary of. Shin threatens them to get out of his way, or they will end up like Leo. Huoroi admires the fact that he originally looked so pathetic, but now even those knights are afraid of him. Shin tells the guards that they will be dead, not by him but by Arena. Though Arena gives side-eye to him, boldly telling him she can't really do it right now. Listening to it, the knight tries attacking Shin, though Hiroi comes in between taking the attack, but nothing happens to him because he is armored, and he gets a notification that his strong will skill is activated, and it will resist any attack for 10 seconds. After using the skill, mana costs 200, and the cooldown limit is 23 hours and 30 minutes. Both Grid and Arena get in shock, wondering how Huoroi tackled that attack, although Huoroi tells them to run away, as he will hold them back. Since he decided to pay back this debt his whole life, the guards try stopping them. But Huoroi activates the order skill, Spiteful Tongue. He abuses them and makes the opponent's stats lower, and uses the skill's Unbreakable Justice, dealing with 300% of his physical attack power. But it doesn't do anything, as he was just bluffing. The guards tie him up. But Huoroi thinks that the quest is already clear. He can log out with no repercussion, and it seems like Winston's City Lord is finished. Huoroi smiles, thinking he can finally rest now after 50 hours, and wishes good fortune for Grid. As Shin and Arena escape the dungeon, Shin exclaims in excitement that they finally escape, but Arena tells him to shut his voice, as they are still in the middle of enemy territory. They still need to escape from the castle. If the knights down there start cooperating with the Lord's bodyguard, things can get difficult. Although Shin lays down on the ground and moves here and there happily and makes Arena frustrated. She holds him by his collar and tells him to shut up, or else she will kill him. As they both are fighting, the Lord of Winston, Baron Lo, arrives there with his soldier. He addresses both of them as criminal, as they completely defeated all those soldiers and knights. He orders his soldiers to kill both of them, because if he lets them get away, he won't be able to stop the citizens from reporting to Earl Stein, and if that happens he is finished. Shin tells Euphemina to get rid of them, though Euphemina gives him side-eye. Thinking about how long he will act so weak, she uses her skill, Demon King's Tailfire, as they are not in a small space, so she can use it now with a strike. She defeats all the soldiers, and the knight is sprawled back on the ground, and he shivers in fear, thinking that maybe it is possible that his bodyguards were weak, as they were annihilated in one hit. Euphemina walks towards Baron and says she was feeling irritated from losing all the skill she was saving, and because of a certain man who loves to annoy people. She is referring to Shin, and she thanks Baron for helping her get rid of the stress. She asks him to follow them outside the castle. As they get out of the castle, they spot Rabbit standing there, and Baron thinks that Rabbit is there to save him. Shin groans in frustration, as he thinks that Rabbit is still working for Mara Company and their fight is still not over. Rabbit praises Euphemina, so Shin doubts her as well, that maybe it was a trap, as she even worked with the Mirror Company. Shin looks at his stats. He has 4 titles, even though those are hard to acquire. And when he looks at the guys with Rabbit and Rabbit himself, he thinks that they have around 10 subordinates, and they aren't even armed, and thinks that he is not armed himself, so he must increase his attack power and defense with his remaining stat point. He gets notification that he has invested 150 stat points in strength, and his strength is now 3. 16 and stamina is 334 as he spent 90 stat points on it. He thinks that even though he has no chance of winning, still he has no choice although Grit is nervous. Even after increasing his stats, he has unknowingly become very strong, an ordinary level 45. Total stat points should be under 500 however. Grit's stat points totaled more than 13, once he equips his ideal dagger. Grit is stronger than a level 100 combat class fighter, however. His experience of facing overwhelmingly strong opponents had sprouted hesitation within him. All of a sudden Shin's thoughts are interrupted when he hears Baron screaming at Rabbit and asking if he has lost his mind, as he reveals that he is not working with the Mirror Company anymore, and tells Baron that he is about to punish him and Velmont for their deeds. Baron calls Rabbit a mere merchant, acting like an apostle of justice. The Rabbit scoffs, saying he is a merchant, that is why. He is obviously acting with profit in his mind, and he further says that he will bet everything on Grit, because with Shin's skills, Shin will be able to create incredible luxury, but on his own, he won't be able to gain the potential of profit. Rabbit says to Shin that if he joins Rabbit, he is confident that they will become bigger and greater than small and medium-sized enterprises. Shin takes a sigh of relief that it wasn't a trap, but questions Rabbit why he raised the flag of rebellion against the Lord and the company. So Rabbit replies that it is because their business will start at Khan Smithy, the symbol of Winston. Both Euphemina and Rabbit leave, but before leaving Rabbit tells Shin that he will inform Shin of the detail after they have dealt with the company. And he will definitely make Shin very rich, and Euphemina reminds him of making orbs for him, to which Shin tells her that he remembers it. She just has to get the materials and production method for him. Rabbit and Euphemina leave and Shin thinks of logging, but is happy about the silver lining and him being rich. Both Rabbit and Euphemina talk while walking, and she tells him that Shin has the capability to defeat the knights, and makes Rabbit realize that blacksmiths aren't that strong. It clearly means he is a Padma descendant. Rabbit thinks that, however, the honorable vision Shin had as a merchant came to pass. The Marrow Company fell under Euphemina and Rabbit actions, and the company and the Lord's misdeeds were revealed to Earstein. Valmont and Baron Lowe were sent to the frontier, and this entire affair ended when Earl Stein ordered their execution. However, during these events, Rabbit was sentenced to 10 years in prison. He hadn't predicted that Earl Stein would be a stern figure and wouldn't forgive the entirety of the Marrow Company. Rabbit thinks that although he managed to keep his life, however, he has successfully decorated a single page of a future Legends biography. Once the tyrants were overthrown, the village of Winston quickly recovered its original activity. Therefore, the second in command of the company, the world's most beautiful lady, and one young blacksmith brought back peace to Winston, and this story linked back to the seed from the Yatten Temple, as Earl Steam appointed his daughter Irene as the new lady of Winston. Breaking news spread worldwide to all users of Satisfy. The very first second class of Satisfy has emerged. The USA researchers say that the SA group said that they aren't willing to disclose information about the second class. The UK researcher says that she received information that the user is from Mongolia. China's researcher says that the SA group is trying to dominate the world using the game, and they should stop people from playing Satisfy. Japan's researchers talk about a Japanese person who obtained a certain epic class, and they say that with a second class, you gain access to a wider variety of weapons to choose from, along with new skills and stats. Shin watches all the news and gets jealous of the person who achieved that class, wondering who that lucky person is. At the dinner table, Shin announces that he won't be going to the labor office anymore, and it makes his father furious, as he doesn't want him to spend his days being unemployed. His sister also judges him, and his mom just gets disappointed, saying that he has debts to pay. Shin sighs and excitedly tells them that it is not the case, and he is playing as a blacksmith in the game, so he can sell the items to produce money. He even tells them that a great merchant said he'd help Shin, so he might make the same amount as a CEO's salary. His father and mother get furious, and his sister tells him to get back to real life, because if he could actually make money through game, he wouldn't be swimming in debts. Shin tries convincing them that he even got the legendary class. But his father screams and tells him to shut up, and even orders him to go to the labor office later. He thinks that only money is his main problem, and he should accept Rabbit's proposal, with the knowledge of the large company. Second in command and by using Khan's smithy as a comfortable base of operation, he can create the results and will convince his parent. The next morning he logs into the game and meets Khan. He says to Khan that it looks so peaceful around here, and asks if Rabbit came by. Khan realizes that Shin didn't know what happened, and nervously chuckles. And he gives him a letter that is by Rabbit. The letter goes by Mr. Grid. I did not get pardoned due to my previous sins while in the company. Therefore, our business plans ended up going down the drain. However, with Khan's help, you can become the richest man if you use your skills correctly. I pray that I will get to hear of your legendary feat. From far away, Khan tells Shin that the Earl Stein said that a complete pardon wouldn't be possible. Shin screams, groans, and collapses on the ground thinking he is finished. But Khan consoles him and tells him that he has a proposal too. Khan tells him that he will hand Shin the smithy because he has earned the right to receive his smithy since he protected it from the mayoral company, and once he becomes old, it will be an honor for him to have Pakma's descendant receive this smithy. Shin thinks that he has never heard of anyone receiving a business from an NPC, so he chuckles nervously and tells Khan that he will believe him if he signs a contract with him. He gets the contract and notification of Shin obtaining the position of Smithy's successor. He gets overwhelmed and cries, thinking he will have to work harder now, and Khan tells him to get ready for becoming the Smithy's owner in the auction house. Jishuka searches for the Jaffa arrow, but is not able to find them and thinks, even though blacksmiths generally make a few thousand arrows each time, she thinks that maybe another guild already found him because he disappeared. After putting up a mere 99 for auction, she gets furious and in the guild chat tells everyone that if they don't find the user within 1 month they will undergo hell of a training, as they have to find them. If a small guild like them has to become stronger, Vantner logs into the game and tells Jishuka about what happened. In the village of Winston, there was an item production competition between users in the village, and among the two users, one of them crafted an epic grade dagger. Within 3 hours she realizes it's him, the guy they have been searching for so long, and orders everyone to head to Winston as soon as possible, because that is where they will find that user, and even tells them that the last one to arrive will die. The second son of Jean, a prominent Japanese conglomerate, ID Cats, with a level of 216 and a unified ranking of 40, has completely defeated a poison pioneer, earning 543,500 experience points. After a few moments, he even killed the closed-off pioneer, acquiring 617,000 experience. He is the third-class epic warrior. This epic class's attack, power and duration were specialized in hunting. However, his unified ranking was rising at high speed, thanks to his high tenacity and his special classes. Effects hadn't increased at all this past month, no matter how much he hunted cats. Gets frustrated that he can't reach level 1, no matter how hard he tries, and wonders if his skills are too poor. His elder and younger brothers are gaining ground on him in their fight to be the successor, so he can't himself be a loser in that game as well. He thinks that he needs to go to hunting ground with higher level enemies. He has enough money, so he will just need to preserve using advanced potions. But there isn't any high-grade equipment on item trading sites. 1 month later in the frontier, the capital city of Stein Earldom, Euphemina was also in deep thought. At the auction house, she can't seem to find production methods for ore, as it is so difficult to find production method for high-grade items. Even though she has been looking for a month, she did get 6,500 gold for clearing the quest, but can't find uses for it. Suddenly she tells them to reveal themselves, and she knows someone is hiding behind the pillar, thanks to her class trait. Her detection skills are quite high, but she is getting monitored, even though she didn't reveal her name on the ranking list as a secret rank. Faker set a car guild member assassin ranker. One wonders how a single blacksmith detected his presence. After receiving information about the item competition their entire guild is gathering right now, and because of the numerous eyewitnesses, they quickly managed to find the winner. the winner of the game, the rumored Blacksmith Arena. Faker was planning on watching Arena from a distance until Jishuka arrived, but she detected his presence despite his level 7 stealth skill. Instantly, Arena uses her skill and tries attacking them, as they weren't coming out. So they move away from the pillar and get on the ground to save themselves from the attack. They wonder how a blacksmith can use top-level magic. In doubt if they have found the correct one they are looking for and think it's a trap laid by a guild that is also going after the special Jaffa Arrows creator. They are trying to deter them by using fake news, and the item competition may have been made up from the start, and their Sadaka guild may be tricked. They ask her what guild she is a part of, though Arena gets frustrated and uses her lightning spell, making them shocked, as she uses such power without chanting. But suddenly with a blow Fake attacks him, and Arena realizes that it is the first time she got hit by someone after becoming a duplicator. But Arena eliminated Fake's clone with one hit. She uses the Ancient Queen's Knight spell. Fake gets shocked that she summoned a familiar, even though she isn't a summoner. A knight is the worst matchup to an assassin, who mainly fights using steel. No matter how much Faker tries, they can't tackle Arena, because she is at her strongest state. Faker thinks that Arena has an overwhelming advantage, even against 4 high rankers. She is like the absolute power that they have dreamt of. Jishuka arrives there thinking everything's gone, and who were they even fighting? Jishuka's guild member informs her that Aaron single-handedly completely defeated 4 guild members, including Faker apparently. She used all kinds of skills from different classes. Jishuka realizes Arena might be a user of a hidden class. Jishuka gets angry, fists her hand, and tells everyone to find her, as she dared to lay a hand on her guild and plans on annihilating her and her backer. Khan suggests Grid take a little rest first and asks if he really doesn't get tired easily, to which he replies that he has been hammering for a whole month now, and he is used to it. He also says that he has learnt a few things, and the first thing is that no one gets a lot of experience by making the same item repeatedly, and the second thing he mentions is that there are 2 requirements for making a high-class item. The first is to use good material, and secondly, if not using good material, then put a lot of time into the making of it. He further adds that working with heavy or requires dexterity but strength and stamina are as important as other factors. He appreciates himself and realizes that his stamina and stats are pretty good, and have increased more than 30 points since he started making items. He further realizes that it was also hard leveling up his item production skill, but he still manages it. But he worries about one problem, which is that although he has spent over 6 hours on every item that he ever created, and by that time he has already made 73 items, he has only been able to make only 3 epic items. He thinks that at least he has a list of the created items. He is thankful that the lessons he took to become the Khan's successor helped him get dozens of blueprints. He gets emotional and realizes that, thinking of all the circumstances he had to go through to get those blueprints, makes him cry just then. It hits his mind that he hasn't heard from the brat, even though he asked him to make the orb. To think that he'd be getting a blueprint, and the materials for a unique orb free of charge. He realizes that she is scary, but she also gave him a great opportunity. Suddenly he stresses that what if he makes a normal class orb instead of a unique one, because he is also getting a blueprint and the material for free. He worries that the brat will kill him, as she is more capable of doing this. Just then Rook with a guy shows up and asks if this is the Khan Smith, and as he sees Grid, he asks him if he is Khan the blacksmith. Khan comes and agrees, and introduces himself and asks how he can help him. Brook says that he has heard that Khan the blacksmith was in an item forging match against someone called Arena, to which Khan agrees. Furthermore, the guy starts asking if she was a proper blacksmith, or if he saw her forge the items herself. Khan replies hesitantly that he doesn't understand what they're getting at, but she was a great blacksmith, and questions those people are and who actually gave them permission to barge in and start relentlessly questioning. Rooks gets furious and asks if that really means the only party involved in that match, aside from him, was Marrow Company. Rook rudely angrily asks him to hurry up fast, as they don't have all day. Grid gets annoyed at their rudeness, as even though Khan is an NPC, he is also a person with feelings. How can they disrespect him? Grid snaps at them and angrily asks, who actually gave them the right to interrogate Khan like that? Rook angrily asks Grid who he is, to which he replies that he works here. The other guy with Rook suggests he be calm, and angrily asks Khan that they need to know more about Arena, and they find out that one of his successors also took part in the competition, so they ask what he knows about her. Khan replies that all they know about Arena is that she was their opponent in the match. Grid realizes that they have no clue that he is Khan's successor. Just then the guy with Rook suggests they head back, as there is nothing here. Grid gets annoyed and angrily asks them to leave, while cursing them in the meantime. A customer comes and angrily asks Khan to show him some of his items. The customer mentions that his products have been quite popular these days. Grid realizes that Khan sells his items for him, with zero commission. And soon he will be loaded with cash at SSS Group headquarters. The management team is discussing an email Grid sent about how they manipulated the success rate. One of the team members calls Miss Choi to look at it, and stresses that the success rate should be leveling up. So what is happening, Ms. Choi replies that this player is a legendary class player, but he doesn't know anything at all. The member says that if he did use legendary skills to craft those 73 items, and he still solely only got 3 epic items, he is kind of justified in relentlessly questioning them. Miss Choi says she'd prefer it if it was an error, or manipulation on their side. Back there, Grid realizes that while working for about 5 to 6 hours daily, he sells 73 level 60 armor and weapon, earning a profit of about 1,079 gold, and 1,294,800 in cash. So if he works all day, he could even make more, he thinks. Even after all this, why do his parents look down on it? To prove them wrong, he decides to sell the ideal dagger, but the market is not set yet, which really means he can't sell it there. Instead, he is thinking of going to the employment agency. On his way, he finds a brochure saying that there is a 30% discount on a capsule room where he can spend his mornings and evening, and go home to play at night. He rushes to get there thinking of his new workplace. He gets excited and says this is Shin Yan Woo's first day as a full-time blacksmith. Meanwhile, at Khan's place, there is a huge crowd shouting to get those items. Someone comments that there aren't any more items made by the unnamed master. One of them asks Mr. Khan where he could find this master, so he could make him craft something for it. But Mr. Khan refuses to tell them. Even after that day, players swarmed Khan's smithy to meet Grid, but no one was able to recognize this humble player who was hammering away. Grid appreciates himself that he is connecting online from a capsule room for 15 hours a day, and he is forging twice as many items as he used to. Grid has made a level 120 plate armor, forged according to Khan's blueprint, which is the most expensive thing he has ever made. He used a total of 483 gold on it, and utilized his 20 hours on this work. He wants this one to be a legendary class item, and if not a legendary one, then at least a unique item. But unluckily it is an epic class item. Grid is disappointed that his life is screwed. At this point, Khan, the blacksmith, comes, and he is appreciating Grid that he forged an item that is comparatively better than Khan's own. Grid angrily asks Khan about how much he thinks he can sell this item for. Khan says it's hard to tell, but he thinks this should be good enough to put out at the night's auction, as he has seen the quality of armor they wear, and the one Grid made is similar to that. Grid realizes that he didn't think of this. This item got a 20% increase in stat, just because of his skills, and it also has an option effect. Khan angrily asks him to travel to the castle himself, but he won't be charged any fees, so it's a great opportunity for him. Grid considers it as there are no fees. Then it's worth a try. Khan angrily asks Grid that there are still 2 days left in the auction. Then why doesn't he forge a couple more items? Grid takes this as a great idea, and is confident enough that he will make a legendary item this time. 2 days later, Khan is wishing Grid a safe journey, and tells him not to be disheartened, as he still forged some amazing item. Khan gives Grid his mark, and tells him that the one who qualifies can participate in this auction. He wishes him that it will be a great experience for him, and angrily asks him not to expect much, just try to have fun. The auction at Winston Castle is held to identify new, outstanding blacksmiths in the area. Grid gets surprised, as he has never seen this many blacksmiths before. He thinks that he won't be at a shortage of employees once he becomes the owner of Khan's smithy. An announcement is made that the auction will begin soon. and to submit the listing by setting a minimum price. Grid decides to submit the plate, armor and gauntlet first. But he stresses, as he doesn't know how to set an appropriate price. Just then a blacksmith comes and angrily asks Grid if he wants some help. As he participates in the auction for the first time, Grid finds him familiar. He tells him that he is finding it difficult to set a price. Shows him the shared quest. Grid angrily asks him why he's not submitting his own work, to which he replies that he's afraid that his items won't stand a chance of selling at an auction like this. Stang angrily asks Grid to show him his items too, but he refuses and angrily asks just to tell him an appropriate price for a level 120 item. He says 300 gold for a normal class item, and in the case of epic items, then 600 gold for a gauntlet and 18 gold for armor. Grid is surprised to realize that 1,800 gold translates to 2,880,001 in cash. Even after excluding all material costs, the net profit comes out to 2,000,001, which is equivalent to a week's worth of time. In a capsule room, he gets excited. Realizing that soon he will be debt-free, he goes for registration. Now comes the time when the auction ends. The person announcing says, "This auction was quite disappointing. Solely the only 3 items were up to their standard. Luckily the last item was exceptional in quality, which was the sword brought by Sting, Razban's apprentice." Everyone starts putting the prices. Meanwhile, they announce there are a few more items left. Sting wakes up Grid and tells them that they are now announcing the bidding results. The lady says that 110 items were listed today, from which solely the only 6 items won this year. Clarissa's necklace is sold for 453 gold. Gret's inner armor is sold for 189 gold. Piglet's potion is sold for 15 gold each, and Sting's long sword is sold for 19 gold. The lady makes the last announcement for Mr. Grid, that the administrator wants to have a word with him. Sting wishes him good luck. And then Grid goes to the administrator's office. The administrator appreciates him for being very experienced, despite his young age. He says Khan must be an excellent mentor for him, where Grid becomes annoyed and says that these skills are his own, not Khan's. The administrator says that he will buy his items for 5,500 gold, and also angrily asks Grid if he can make equipment for all his soldiers. Grid gets startled that 5,500 really means 600,000 in cash, which is worth 73 days of work at the employment agency. Grid says they can't afford to make all the equipment for your soldiers as the smithy is quite busy. Grid learns one thing that day, that even if it takes more time, higher level gear is worth a lot more. He thinks that he should not waste time making mediocre stuff. He should refuse his offer. Instead, the administrator angrily asks him to make the gear for his knights only, but he expects the quality of the equipment to be on par with that of the items you listed today. He also says that this must be difficult, so he can offer you a 10% bonus on each item, but Grid must promise the quality of work. Grid refuses his offer, as he realizes this will lead him to a penalty, but after some more discussion, he ends up taking his offer. He is thinking that 2 of the 3 items he forged were epic. He spent 20 hours on each item, so 1 week will be enough for him to make 3 items. Stan gets happy after getting to know about Grid's deal. Grid gets excited that from today onward, he will be rich. This auction became a success for him. For the last few months, Earl Stein had been eager to conquer the Yatan Church and subdue its cultists. The actual trouble starts when Irene, the Earl's daughter, is kidnapped by the Eton cultists as a sacrifice for their religious ceremony. During Irene's rescue, Earl Stein loses his most loyal knight Doran. The situation in the north worsens when Blood Witch Yura appears. Yura says this class quest is everything to her. She will definitely complete it. She wants to become a top-tier ranker at Winston Castle. Lady Irene is told that 12 casualties and 5 knights are wounded. She angrily asks if they did not outnumber their enemy. So how could we have lost 1,000 soldiers and 8 knights to a mere 150? According to a source, she gets told that there is solely the only one cultist with immense power, and that must be one of the 7 servants. Back to the smithy, Khan tells Grid that although this is a normal item, it's a fine blade. Grid is full of anger, saying that this item is nothing. Khan angrily asks him to calm down, but he is tense because he has to make 3 epic swords, and he is left with solely the only 6 chances, as he had money for 7 swords, one of which is a failure. Khan tells him that he can still sell this for 800 gold, but it costs 950 gold to make. Khan appreciates him, saying that he is working over 20 hours on a sword, and should not lose faith in himself, as working hard will never betray him. Over and over he is left with solely the only 5 chances. He starts working again. One of the swords is ranked rare. The next one is normal and so on. After 1 week Grid has 2 epic, 1 rare and 3 normal items. Today is Grid's last day, meaning this will be his last sword. Khan motivates him saying he is Pogma's successor. He must stay strong. Grid thinks that since this is his last chance, and forging an epic one in one go is impossible, this might be a failure too. He keeps working on it and finally at the end, it becomes a legendary item. Plus 25 permanent boost on all stats. Post 1000 fame across the continent. He earns the title of solely the only legendary item maker. Grid and Khan both get shocked. And just then Khan's mouth starts foaming, and Grid shouts that Khan shouldn't die on it. In the castle, Lady Irene receives news that their second army has also been defeated. She angrily asks her Phoenix if that was it, from one of the 7 servants again. To which he agrees. Miss Irene says to Phoenix that their conquest depends on defeating this one cultist, sir. Phoenix agrees with her, but says that unless they have more reinforcement, this would be impossible. She is sure that she will avenge Doran, no matter how long it takes. Meanwhile, a man is swimming in the fountain, where he finds a gold coin. Suddenly the administrator comes there, and asks for clear permission to enter. Miss Irene says that this is perfect time, as there appears to be an odd man in the garden. Downstairs he tells her that man is Grid, and she must speak with him right now. The administrator tells her that he is the man to whom they actually gave the commission for forging swords for their knights. Later she thanks Grid for what he did, and wants to reward him for his work. Grid angrily asks her to give his reward, and at the same time he finds her very familiar. The administrator shows Ms. Irene the sword Grid made, and tells her it is not an ordinary weapon. She gets very shocked by seeing his work. Grid angrily asks her how much she is willing to pay him, as they promise to pay him extra if the quality was great. She gets amazed by his work and realizes that with it, they can defeat the 7 servants. She orders the administrator to buy the sword, and decides whatever price he finds good. Ms. Irene angrily asks Grid to look forward to seeing his other work. Grid looks at the ring she is wearing, which feels also familiar to him. He starts liking her already. The man comes to decide the price of the sword. With Grid he offers him 220,000 gold, but Grid misunderstands, thinking he is offering him 22,000. He says each sword cost him 1,000 gold. The man clarifies that they are offering 220,000 gold, emphasizing that this is the best they can offer. Grid is surprised to learn that 220,000 gold translates to 264 million and won. In cash, even after paying off his debt, he will still be left with 2 million won. He is very happy and calls this day the end of his 26 years of misfortune. He plans to buy luxury clothes, a car, and even ask his high school crush to go on a date. With him the deal is done. And as a token of thanks, they give him stones of blue or callum. Grid already needs 15 of these stones. He feels this day is very lucky for him. He realizes that he will be exempt from taxes when he takes over Khan's smithy. He gets very excited and can't wait to tell his parents about that. But this deal will prove a great loss for him. A couple of months later, a handful of players who fulfill the requirements will appear, and at that point the legendary class sword will be worth 10 times what he earned today. Full of excitement he comes home shouting "Mom, Dad," but the atmosphere is very gloomy. His mom has tears in her eyes and tells him that his father guaranteed a debt that went wrong, and now they have a debt of 800 million. Grid's father reassures everyone in the room, telling them not to worry. He plans to sell the house and break into his savings, so they will have 400 million to resolve their financial crisis. Grid, however, is feeling an intense wave of tension and anxiety, as he never imagined his father would be shaken like this. His mother too gets devastated and says that this money was the money they had saved for Sahi's college education and her eventual wedding. She feels an overwhelming sense of sorrow for her daughter at that moment. Grid feels unfair and angrily asks in disbelief that, what about him? If he is not their child, and if don't he matter as well? Just then say He says that she doesn't need to go to college anymore, and she will get a job part-time instead. They get emotional and start crying while hugging her and asking for apology. Grid can't help but also realizes that he has always been the top of her class, so it would be a shame for her to give up school for work. Suddenly he says that he will make the money they need. He tells Sei-hee to continue her study, promising that he will find a way to resolve everything. Everyone in the room gets shocked and just ignores him. His father says that he'll go and look for a second job, while her mother and sister also decide to get a part-time job. Grid insists them to stop ignoring him and tells them that he has made a lot of money playing the game and it is over 200 million. Everyone gets startled as they can't process what they are hearing. Grid decides to rescue his family and prove to them that he is useful for them. Meanwhile, Sir Phoenix has been given the Sword of Self-Transcendence, a symbol of leadership and strength. His task is to annihilate their enemies in the Jotun Church and destroy them. Sir Phoenix makes his commitment for the glory of the North and the House of Stein, vowing that he will return victorious. Lady Irene orders to dispatch the troop, and angrily asks Sir Phoenix to make sure that he returns with the heads of the 7 servants. She realizes that although there are solely the only 150 Yakin cultists, one of the 7 is among them, and they can't let their guard down. They have 12 knights and 15 soldiers, and with these numbers, Lady Irene is sure that they can win this time. Phoenix, as the strongest knight of the North, steps forward confidently to lead the charge and suggest his troops not to get fear. Meanwhile, a warrior from Yura's troops informs Ura that it seems those heathens have returned. He says that he will crush them and offer them to their god Jotun if she takes the ground. They support her with their power. Ura realizes that these followers of the 7 servants are truly evil. She doesn't really want to take on their quest, but she has no other choice. Unless she gets a hidden class like Agnes or Katsu. Just then she takes a charge to go forward. As Phoenix sees Lady Yura in the distance, he comments that at least she showed her evil face. He tells her that he will put an end to her wickedness. As the battle begins, Mr. Phoenix manages to block one of Lady Yura's attack. With ease, Yura gets stunned and wonders how a mere knight could shatter, and manages to block her diamond barrier, something that even the boss monster she's faced in the past could not break through. In the midst of the chaos, she cast a black magic spell that puts a single opponent in a state of fear. Phoenix comments on the spell's effectiveness, saying it's a remarkable skill, as it even manages to frighten his horse. Yura, however, feels completely helpless in this moment, something she has felt before. When she fights against Grid, she feels completely disappointed. On the other hand, back at home, Grid's father angrily asks if he's not doing something illegal. Everyone starts doubting him, but he realizes that they are not wrong, even if he wouldn't believe it. If his unemployed 26-year-old son brought home that kind of money, Youngwoo reassures everyone that he made it all by playing a game and explains the detail. Constantly nag about playing that game, but if he made that much huge money, then it shows that he has worked incredibly hard in his own field. Youngwoo truly gets happy seeing that they finally acknowledged him. Higher Father thanks him that they will be able to overcome this crisis, and within 3 years they will take care of the debt and also get his 240 million. Youngwoo gets a relief, realizing that he is finally able to do something for his family. Grid logs back into the game and decides to get started again. He checks his balance and thinks that he needs to make the best out of his remaining 20,000 gold, so if he forges a normal item with high-level requirements, it'll still be a loss for him since no one can equip it. It'd be nice if he could forge an item that's rare, class or higher. However, he doesn't have control over that. He finally decides that he's going to try a new strategy by aiming specifically for level 140 items, even if they're normal class. Grid overhears a girl asking a guy in the crowd if he heard about the army that was sent to conquer the Jotun Church got defeated. She continues that even Sir Phoenix, the strongest knight in the north, was badly wounded. The guy exclaims that the 7 servants must have been really powerful. Grid wonders how everyone's talking about the 7 servants, so he checks his status, wondering how strong they are. Grid's eyes widen in surprise as he sees his own status and realizes that he's also gotten pretty strong just from forging items, as his current stats are already higher than his previous level 80 warrior stats. He thinks that he could even hunt level 100 monsters if he's equipped with the right gear. And sadly, wishes that he could hunt like how he used to. He decides to forget about it, as he's got a huge debt to pay off. Grid reaches the smithy and starts working when Khan arrives and exclaims how Grid is starting off early, to which he replies that he has to really get to work from now on. Khan calls it an admirable mindset and asks him what he's making. He replies that he's making a blacksmith hammer, as his old one was getting a little worn out, so he thought about making a new one. Khan replies that his hammer was indeed a bit too plain, however he thought that Grid was using it because it was special to him. Grid tells him that he was just working with what he had, but Khan gets angry and shouts at him if he is out of his mind, because a hammer is a blacksmith's most essential tool. Grid expresses his cluelessness, at which Khan replies disappointingly how he thought that Grid would know it as Pagma's successor, and then shows Grid his hammer. Grid looks at the hammer and appraises Khan, explains that he cannot forge a good item with only good materials and skill, but also requires good equipment. Grid yells at him for not telling this earlier, and starts to rebuild the hammer. When Grid looks at the epic class hammer he made, he acknowledges Khan's words and how only he can use it. Khan calls him an interesting lad after looking at it, and asks Grid for a favor: to come along with him to visit his son's grave on his death anniversary today. On reaching the graveyard, Grid thinks that however he's an NPC, he is still the only person by his side, so it's only right that Grid do this for him. Khan explains that this is his family graveyard, and shows his son Oliver's grave by telling Grid that Oliver was an outstanding blacksmith. However, an illness took him at a very young age. He tells that 10 years have passed, but he still misses him so much and wishes that he could take his place. Afterwards, Khan addresses Oliver's grave and introduces Grid as Pagma's successor, as Oliver always wanted to meet him. Khan tells his son how he has the honor of working with him, and how he also saved the smithy. Also how he made Khan quit drinking and will inherit Khan's family business as well. Grid feels uncomfortable at that and tries to speak to Khan, while thinking how Satisfy is adamant on making him cry, as it all seems so genuine like reality. He places his hand on the gravestone and tells Oliver how his father is a great man, as well as his dearest friend. He further promises that when he'll succeed the smithy, he'll make it the best in the world. At once there is a great flash and pop-up displays that his bond with Khan has strengthened, and his forefathers have risen to thank him. He turns to Khan saying how he should see this, but spots that Khan has fallen asleep. Grid curses at Khan and starts running away in fear. However, the spirits introduce themselves and tell Grid that they've come to repay Grid for everything he's done. Grid asks for clarification, to which the forefather explains that 130 years ago, he saw a dance so beautiful that it pierced the night sky and brought forth thunder. Mesmerized by its terrifying beauty, he recorded what he had seen in an engraving and hid it in the northern cliffs of Kisengord. Grid's eyes widen in surprise, as the spirit tells that Grid might know that dance, as Pagma's sword dance at once. Grid's quest renews to finding clues about Pagma. On looking at it, Grid remembers how he forgot this quest from the last time. The spirit tells Grid that the engraving will help Grid learn more about Pagma's sword dance, and further prays that he'll become a legend, greater than even Pagma himself. At last Oliver says that he is leaving his father in Grid's care, at which Grid replies that he's now in good hands, so don't worry. Khan wakes up and realizes that the sun is already setting, to which Grid says to him how he shouldn't fall asleep in the middle of nowhere, and turns around while standing awkwardly, and tells Khan that he should be more careful. From now on, Khan asks Grid in confusion about why he looks so uncomfortable, at which he replies how he saw a ghost while hiding how he peed himself. Hiroi is confused about what to do, or will Grid be pleased to see him? Or will he ask him about him being so late? 40 days have passed since Hiroi cleared the weight quest. He spent a week in the hospital, as the SA group had advised him. He also received the offer of revealing his identity as the first user with a second class, and spent a week trying to decide whether to accept it or not. Then he was resting and returned to the game 3 days ago. After improving his understanding of his new class, he finally came to Khan's smithy to meet Grid, the one he had sworn to serve. Instantly Grid opens the door to leave, and Hiroi's eyes widen in happiness. and he kneels before him. But Grid grabs his collar and asks him if he knows Grid, and questions him about blabbering to the knight about him even though they are strangers. He reveals that he was disqualified from the competition, locked in jail, got massacred by the knights and had to follow a crazy, terrifying girl because of him. Huroi kneels down again and apologizes to Grid, addressing Shin as his liege and accepting his fault. Shin notices Huroi calling him that, and wonders if he has got his screw loose in his head, after spending time in jail, remembering about him being tortured. Shin tells him to leave and go where he belongs, though Huroi claims that descendants of the Blue Wolf never break their vows and he belongs next to Grid. Huroi asks him if he is in a guild, and asks for allowance to let him join that guild, as he will follow him wherever to serve him. Shin finds him clingy and tells him to get lost, as he isn't a part of anything. Though Huroi suggests he creates his own guild, as many people will gather around him. Due to his heart, Shin thinks within himself that he is busy crafting items that he will use for his next quest, so Huroi should stop bothering him with anger in his eyes, and tells him to simply leave. Later on, Huroi follows Shin to the forest, knowing that disobeying him is wrong. But descendants of the Blue Wolf never break their vow, while Grid was obtaining misfortune. Instead of ores on his journey for material, the world of Satisfy was greatly shaken. The Yakan church subjugation had occurred. Across the north at the end of the brutal battle, the power of God Yakan had manifested. It was the birth of the eighth servant. Yura had broken through the limits of Black Magician, and was approaching her path completion. The game notifies that the influence of the Yakan Church is increasing across the continent, and the minimum level of the Yakan believers has risen from 160 to 107. If the Yakan Church continues to grow at this pace, it will become large and influential, enough to found a country of its own, to hinder the growth of a pseudo-religion that harmed others as sacrifices. Dozens of nations united and gave their users a subjugation quest. Black Magician Talos Yaten Church. Bishop's first servant screams and calls upon God Yaten to show these heretics the might, though Earl Steam Eternal Kingdom says that this time they will get rid of all the seeds of the Yaten Church. In the north, the media analyzes the situation of the Alliance versus the Yaten Church and forms different theories. The quest to subdue 25 members of the Yaten Church keeps popping up recently, though Shin ignored it. Shin thinks clearing a single class quest would solve a lot of his problems. Right now, he has more or less completed rare and epic equipment using the ore he gathered in the last 10 days. But the only problem is with equipment of this level. The Kazan Canyon is still too difficult. It is considered one of the worst areas in the north, and it is also difficult to tread on its uneven terrain. What is even worse are the caves hidden within the canyon. They are packed with monsters at level 160 at least. Shin groans in frustration, as he has died a lot of times because of those monsters. Though he is stronger than before, but still he doubts himself. Huroi worries as he looks at his liege being so frustrated, though an idea pops into his mind, and he makes an item to counter them. Failure is an absurd design. After getting killed over 10 times by the monster in the canyon, he now knows them like the back of his hand, and as long as it's not an unreasonable design, he can make one, and a brand new item was being created. The Eternal Kingdom. One of the 5 forbidden areas is in Kaizen Canyon, a location with countless caves containing level 160 monster. Grid sits on the wooden rock, thinking. He died so many times for Asher's quest over there, and he is still too weak at his current level, but he doesn't even have time to level up, since he has to make huge money to repay his mountainous debts. He has got no choice except for item creation. He thinks of making an item to match the Kazan Canyon's characteristic, and he doesn't need to worry about stamina. Despite those rough terrains, he can recover through his stamina stat. Those level 160 monsters are the problem, as they stay hidden in their caves and jump out on passing adventurer. He needs a weapon at the same rank as the Sword of Self-Transcendent. Grid asks Khan about materials for stealth item. Khan suggests using silver dragon scale, and explains that they are a species of dragon that lives stealthily. Their scales have a protective coloration that hides them away from humans. Those are perfect for stealth equipment, but Grid wonders how he could even get them. Khan explains that he is pretty certain that human can't smell dragon scales in the first place, and among the stealth equipment The most famous item is the Invisible cloak, made by Kruger. He is a legendary tailor who was active 200 years ago. There is a northern material he could use for stealth items. Silvered scales are the scales of small air fairy. Those also have a protective coloration. Dragon scales are so hard that they are classified as ores. But silvered scales are thin but tough and classified as cloth. Therefore, making stealth items using silvered scale is a tailor's specialty, not a blacksmith. Shin receives a notification from the game asking him to choose the item he wants to create. He selects a cloak, then another notification appears asking him to specify the materials for the cloak. He enters silvered scales as the material. Shin designs the item and draws as a simple cloak. Is bland, so he adds a hood, but then makes it into a comfortable hooded zip-up. The automatic correction has finished, and a cloak is formed. Its characteristics are: the cloak is a unique grade item with a durability of 61 and a defense of 10. It increases movement speed by 30% and is very light, weighing only 5. The cloak is designed by a legendary blacksmith and activates stealth when worn, but stealth turns off if the user attacks an enemy. It also provides a 20% increase in wind resistance. There are no special conditions to use, and it is made using 20 silvered scale. Shin names it the hooded zip-up. Later on the same day, Khan laughs at Grid as he talks about hunting silphid, but unless someone is an elementalist, they can't see silphids with their own eye. Grid gets upset as he created an item for which he can't even get the material, but Khan tells him to first listen to him completely. And the thing is that they can get silphid scale, even if he can't see them, as he just needs to hunt. The frostlight orcs in the snowy north, they have a sixth sense that can detect and hunt silphids. They like to keep the silphid scales as treasure, and while the frostlight orcs have a big weakness against fire, they are still stronger, larger and smarter than ordinary orc. The next day, they create a brown leather jacket to save Grid from the cold, and its characteristics are: the warm giant brown bear leather armor is a sturdy piece with a durability of 200 and provides high defense. With a rating of 143, it offers excellent protection against cold environment and boosts cold resistance by 15%. However, it is vulnerable to blunt attack. To wear this armor, users must be at least level 30 and possess intermediate mastery in leather armor. The hunting day has finally come, though Khan is worried for him and reminds him to be careful, but obviously he is going to have new equipment with him. The warm giant brown bear leather hat and cloak are both normal rated items, with defenses of 19 and 22 respectively, and each provides a 5% increase in cold resistance. The warm and functional giant brown bear leather gloves are rare, rated with a defense of 50 and a 15% boost to cold resistance. The great giant brown bear boots are epic rated, offering a high defense of 95, a 20% cold resistance boost, and a 2% increase in movement speed. All these items require the user to be level 130 or higher to equip. He even has his new weapon, the ideal dagger, with him. This was Grid's first hunt, where he was properly prepared. But what he didn't know was that the drop rate of silphid scale was below 1% in the northern snowfields. Shin walks on the snowy ground being all proud, saying it is barely chilly. As he expected of the giant brown bear set, most users would get frostbites within a few minutes, but he is fine because of the cold resistance being at 60%. Now the hunt of the starts. Shin spots the frostlight orc slide. Shin thinks that these low-grade monsters are so stupid, they can't even use bows and arrows, and this hunt is going to be a piece of cake. The monsters notice a human coming towards them, but Shin doesn't seem to care, and he even smirks, addressing them as uncivilized beasts. Shin points his ideal dagger towards them and threatens them to hand him the silvered scale, otherwise there will be a bloodbath there. Shin's smirk turns into terrifying expression when he sees one of the monsters pointing an arrow towards him. He then remembers that Khan said, while the frost light orcs have a big weakness against fire, they are still stronger, larger and smarter than ordinary orc. Shin realizes he is in trouble again. Shin uses his skill quick movement, with the agility and evasion rate increasing for 1 minute. As the monsters attack him with the arrow, all of a sudden they stop firing. And Ahin thinks maybe they are out of arrows, but a monster stands in front of him, and it is 2 man-hours with his weapon. Shin uses Wind Blast skill to protect himself, but it doesn't seem to affect the monster. So Shin uses his dagger, but the cut isn't that deep, but it definitely hurt the monster. He thinks that he needs to use the combination skills to fight back. By using Blacksmith's Rage and Wind Blast together, his attack seems to work. And with a strike of a critical attack, he thinks he kills one of the orcs. The game notifies him that he has dealt 923 damages, and a bleeding effect has been applied due to the accurate aim at the target. But the reality is that the orc isn't killed yet, although his anger doubles. The orc keeps attacking him and increases Shin's damage, making Shin realize that his attacks are working, but the orc's health is a lot. He uses a potion and gains 15 health, but it doesn't seem to help much, as the orc keeps attacking him and suffers more damage, and he has another potion too. But again the orc attacks him. And now he is sprawled back to a tree, with a notification of warning, as his health is below 10%, and the remaining potion cooldown time is only 7 seconds. The orc comes in front of him, and now he has no way to escape. But suddenly Shin gets the notification that the passive effect of the title, Apostle of Justice, has activated, and it is strong and brave, and will not fall easily until the enemies are killed before him. Shin stops the ORX weapon with his bare hand, not believing that the title Apostle of Justice, and it even greatly increases all his stats to 30%. Shin instantly kills the ORC actual, and gets promptly notified of gaining experience of 266,000. His overall level has risen too, and he has fully recovered all his health as well. The other orcs get furious and surround Shin, but Shin takes this as an opportunity to increase his overall level and stats. 3 days later, Huroy follows Shin to the northern snowfield, regretting that it is too cold. He should have prepared for more equipment, and worries for Shin. Thinking that the orcs are pretty strong and attacking groups, he checks his item, which include 50 flame bottles to attack the orc, and after getting Apostle of Justice's partner, he can now equip the sword and shield that he couldn't use back when he was just in order. But when he arrives there, he sees a lot of orcs laying dead on the snow. Huroy thinks that Frostlight orcs are powerful, overall level 120 monsters, and in such a big battle, he is afraid that Shin didn't come out unscathed. A voice breaks in. It is Shin. He is shocked to find Huroy there. But Huroy is happy seeing Shin alive, and thinking that Shin is still alive, and killed so many monsters with such a small dagger, and feels proud that his Leegi is so strong. Huroy bows down to him and apologizes to him for leaving Shin on his own. Though Shin doesn't understand this behavior of his, Shin looks at his status window, and he is now at overall level 83, and rose by 38 levels in 3 days. Though he gets irritated at the fact that Haroy keeps following him. He asked Haroy why he keeps following Shin, with that smile on his face. Haroy keeps smiling and tells Shin that of course, he is happy, as he was worried about Shin ended up being unscathed. But Shin is just tired of the fact that he hunted orcs for 3 entire days, and kill over 80 of them, and still got only 3 Silphid scales as reward, including 580 golds, 40 Frostlight Orcan leather, 25 Orcan axes and 14 orc bows. Huroy interrupts Shin's thoughts, asking him why he is frowning so much, to which Shin replies in anger that he is frustrated, that he didn't get what he wanted, and asks why he keeps calling him Leegi, and keeps following him. Huroy is still smiling, and says that Shin rescued him from that prison, and saved him from the quest, where he had to spend 50 hours in real life, inside a dungeon though. Shin doesn't believe that a quest would demand he stay 50 hours in a cell. Huroy tells him it is the truth. After arguing for some more time, their conversation settles, and Huroy asks Shin where he is headed now, after killing all of the orcs at the Liar's entrance. Shin replies that he needs to get 20 Silphid, and there weren't enough at the entrance, so he needs to kill a few more within the lair. In the cave, he confesses to Huroy that he is getting sick of hunting for 3 days straight in game timing, so he will stop if he doesn't get another scale, after killing one more orc. But something unexpected happens, and a giant orc appears in front of them. It is the Frostlight ORC chief, and is a overall level 140 monster field boss. The monster attacks them and both of them start running, though Shin orders Huroy to block the attack, as his class was a sacrificial class in the first place. But Huroy tells him that they don't have to run, as his caste is the Apostle of Justice's partner, so if they fight together, Their stats increase by 30% and he is at overall level 1 and 38, so if they face it together, they stand a chance. Shin realizes that Hiroi is right, and agrees with the plan, but tells Hiroi that all drops will be his. A party has been created. An item distribution has been set to party leader pickup. Hiroi sees that Shin is just on overall level 83 and asks Shin how did he even kill all these monsters while being at a low overall level, and realizes that he has one of the 3 known epic classes. When Shin doesn't seem to reply properly, Shin smirks and tells him to get to work. He guides him that he will handle mob, and Hiroi should handle the boss. Hiroi uses his taunt skill to draw the enemy's aggro. Shin smirks, saying he has never seen anyone swear better than himself, but the thin skill of Hiroi is amazing. And then he uses his combination skill, Unbreakable Justice, Wind Blast and Blacksmith's Rage simultaneously, and obtains 2 more sylphids by killing 11 more orc. The duration of the taunt ends, and the chief monster tries attacking Hiroi. He freezes there, but Shin tackles the attack with 104 damage. He is dodging all the attacks, but can't counter-attack, due to which his damages keep increasing. Hiroi uses the same skill as Shin, and attacks the monster from behind with his sword and shield, causing pain to it. Shin also attacks him from the front, and the attack hits the face, and its legs are defenseless. Now both of them together attack the monster from front and behind, making the monster roar in pain. Shin thinks that they might actually win and think, despite the fact how irritating Hiroi is, he is good at matching timing with Shin. Both of them think that the monster is badly injured, but it attacks them again with its weapon, as its skin is too thick, and he isn't going to die soon. The attack from the monster this time is so strong that both Shin and Hiroi are sprawled back to the ground, and Shin is suffering from 300 damages with less than 20% vital health. On the other hand, Hiroi is unconscious on the ground with vital health below 10%. Shin tries waking him up by saying he can't just die when he wishes, when Shin is the one leading this raid, and instantly Hiroi wakes up. The monster attacks Shin as he is defending Hiroi. Shin is dizzy and is on Hiroi's left. Hiroi doesn't believe that Shin really hurt himself. For Hiroi though, Shin tells him to stop talking and attack the monster. For a while Shin's condition looks pretty bad, so he plans on drinking a potion, and the game notifies him that a legend doesn't die this easily, and he can resist all attacks for 5 seconds, with a minimum of vital health. Hiroi stands up with his weapon and says, not only was he unable to protect Shin, but he now owes Shin his life as well. The monster's axe is coming from behind, so Shin warns him. Hiroi tells Shin to drink his potion, but Shin tells him that he needs to get his aggro. For him to drink, Hiroi uses the skill Strong Will, and he can resist any attack for 10 seconds after using the skill, and the cooldown time is 90 minutes. The axe hits Hiroi's head, but it doesn't harm him because of his skill. He throws fire bombs at the monster, and Shin smirks while drinking the potion, as frostlight orcs are weaker against fire. Both Shin and Hiroi work together and throw fire bombs at the monster, and the monster is definitely taking the damage, but it is so strong and sturdy that its elemental weakness wasn't as efficient as they thought. If they don't give it damage, they will be the ones who will die. Shin laughs, mocking the monster, saying it hasn't been moving since they burned it, and it is like a standing lump of meat now. Shin decides to kill it in one hit, though Hiroi tells him to not stop moving, as the monster is still healthy enough to attack, and that is what happens. The monster crunches Shin in between his giant leg, and points his axe towards Shin's face. Hiroi knows this is bad, and he needs to do something in order to save Shin, so he says to the monster that it should have been more alert, as he is stronger than Shin, and he will use a skill that will completely destroy it. Sacrifice for justice is the skill he is talking about, though Shin doesn't understand, as Hiroi's vital health was completely depleted, but the blow is so amazing that the monster must have dealt a fatal blow. The monster takes his position again, and Hiroi already knew it wasn't enough, so he tells Shin that he thinks things will be very different now, and he is handing the rest into his hand, and he will see at the entrance. The monster tears Hiroi apart with his axe, and Shin gets the notification that his party member, Hiroi, has died. Shin says he doesn't understand what Hiroi meant with different an entrance, but one thing he knows is that Hiroi has done something for him. He uses his combination skill with rage in his eye, and plans on hitting the monster's vital spot. He hits the monster, and realizes that it is taking more damage than before. Shin remembers that Huroi used the sacrifice of justice skill and it used up his vital health, so maybe it reduced the boss's defense too. The monster moves the axe in the air, and roars as the axe hits Shin. And Shin sarcastically says that, even though this pig is on his death door, it is still attacking. He needs one last attack to kill it. But he is about to be dead and accepts his loss. But all of a sudden the game notifies it that the Apostle of Justice is strong during times of crisis, making his stats increase to 30%, and the cooldown of breakable justice also ends. This is the opportunity for Shin to attack the monster, and he uses the opportunity smartly, and with one strong attack. He defeats the monster. A notification pops up telling him that he has defeated the Frostlight ORC chief. This is Grid's first successful boss raid. Shin gets back to the smithy and looks at the loot he got, and wonders that they barely won the raid. But he still didn't get 20 Silvered Scale. The Lost Light or Chief's Helmet is a unique set item with a defense rating of 130. It provides a 10% increase in vital health, but reduces the critical damage rate by 20%. It also has a certain chance of intimidating the target. If 5 set items are equipped, the wearer can transform into the Frostlight or Chief, allowing them to command Frostlight Orc, and granting the special skill rotation cut. This transformation requires the user to be at least overall level 150, with 400 or more strength. The Red Lightning summoning bead can summon red lightning from the sky, temporarily increasing the attack power of the weapon struck by the lightning, and giving it a lightning attribute. The summoning lasts for 1 minute, but reduces the summoner's vital health by 10%. There are 2 Blessed Weapon Enhancement Stone, 3 Blessed Armor Enhancement Stone, and 7 Silvered Scales included. He examines the Blessed Enhancement Stones and thinks, if ordinary Enhancement Stones were to fail, the item's enhancement value would decrease by 3, but these blessed ones only decrease it by 1. They also cost 12 times more than ordinary Enhancement Stones, around 12,000 gold. Those high overall level users only use these expensive stones when enhancing their equipment. In any case, these cost 720,001. He might sell them, and if it weren't for Hyrule, he wouldn't have obtained this much. Khan comes and smiles seeing Shin happy, though Shin doesn't give his items to Khan. But as Shin throws the Frostlight Orc leather, Khan takes it and informs Shin that this leather is of great quality, and if he uses it as inner armor, it can fully absorb the impact on the exterior armor. Shin is okay with it and tells Khan that he is now heading towards the market. Shin is in the market and at the weapon shop. He asks for 10 ordinary weapons enhancement stone. Those are 1,000 gold. But he can't really do anything about it, as he needs to prepare himself to go to the canyon. He will have to wander around the Kessin Canyon in search of the mural that depicts Pagma's swordsmanship. He had such a hard time against ordinary orc, and even though he is at overall level 85 now, there are still many monsters he can't face. So for now on he has to enhance his item. He goes to a quiet place and firstly enhances his ideal dagger, though he thinks of his family's crisis. But enhancing items up to +5 is normal, and continues enhancing it. The +5 enhancement for the +4 ideal dagger was successful. He gets greedy and thinks of enhancing it one more time, as it is rare amongst the users. And he does it somehow. All the people around look at the dagger and admire it. The dagger is giving a blue shine, and people think it is a +6 or above weapon. Shin flexes it, thinking he doesn't regret using 2,000 gold to get a +6 weapon. He spots Cat, who is smirking as he sees people crowded around the Shin. Because of the dagger, Cat goes to him, saying he can't believe someone wearing those pathetic clothes is trying to show off his dagger, and tells him that he just came to spectate, and flexes his own weapon. It's a +8 weapon. Shin is impressed as well as the people around him, but he thinks, why should the number of enhancements on his weapon matter to him, as he finds his dagger cooler, and he is satisfied with creating a weapon. With so much hard work, Cats mockingly smirk, telling Shin to be happy and satisfied, and walks away. Back at his place, he thinks about how Cats is an attention seeker, and angrily crafts items, as he has to go to the canyon tomorrow, and thinks in any case he has blessed enhancement stones, and he can't waste them if he wants to save his family, as he is not immature enough to be jealous. Khan enters from behind with the item he created, with orc leather. Khan's masterpiece is an epic rated item with a defense value of 359. It reduces movement speed by 7% and weighs 1900. This armor decreases physical damage by 20%. To use it, the player must be at overall level 160 or higher, have at least 550 strength and 380 stamina, and possess intermediate mastery in heavy armor. Shin is happy about the item and thanks Khan for it. He is done preparing and is all armored with the Frostlight Orc's helmet, Khan's masterpiece, the best gauntlets and the adventurer's boot. He smirks as he makes an 8+ ideal dagger weapon by using his enhancement stone. Even after saying 6+ weapon is so much cooler. At the case in canyon, Shin walks carefully as he will die if he falls. The silvered scales are important, but he should pay attention to the real goal and look at the quest information. Pagma Swordsmanship First Class. Quest is telling Shin to find the clue about Pagma in the Quezon Canyons south of Winston. The clear conditions are to learn Pagma Swordsmanship, and the clear reward is the reproduction of Dane's life. Even though the ideal dagger was enhanced to +8, it's still a overall level 180 weapon. It's not comparable to Dane's leaf, which is a overall level 250 great sword, and the most important reward is Pagma's swordsmanship, and Shin needs to get this skill, since he only has 4 attack skills. And he even needs to watch out for the cave on the wall. He got killed so many times by the overall level 160 monster in those caves. Canyon lizard, a monster of overall level 162, appeared. That blade-like tongue killed him many times. Shin's body trembles, but he is not like before and uses his combination skills, but still gets damage of 1230, though the dagger's enhancement greatly boosted the skill's power. He defeats the lizard and obtains 329,000 experience. He celebrates his victory, but it doesn't last long. As lizard man of overall level 185 arrive there, Shin attacks one of them with his dagger, but with them attacking him, he receives so much damage. Their defense is so much higher than the lizard, and they have thick skin and defensive equipment as well. He would have died if not for Khan's epic great armor, but the armor will be useless if he can't endure their relentless attack. He stops their movements with the skill and takes this opportunity to kill them all with his dagger while using his quick movement skill. He defeats the lizard man and obtains 948,000 experience. He killed them, but his mana is rock bottom. Now he drinks the potion, so dealing with small mobs isn't a problem, and killing 2 more monsters will increase his overall level. He thinks that as long as he doesn't encounter the canyon spider, a monster of overall level 188, he is going to be fine. But this is exactly what happens, and a spider appears in front of him. This one is on another overall level. It can even kill lizard men like they are nothing. He knows if he gets caught by it, he is dead. So he uses his skill, but it only deals with 300 damages, making Shin realize its defense is higher than the ORC chief. Shin's ultimate combo doesn't affect it. He can barely dodge its attack with his skill. Quick movement, even wind blast, is useless right now, and he will die at this rate. Normally his attack power should increase by 60%, but it's only half of that. Since he doesn't reach the usage requirement, he could use Unbreakable Justice if he gets a chance, since it greatly increases the attack power by 300%, but he needs to make physical contact for it to work, so it's useless if he can't get close to it. He uses Wind Blast, and right before shooting Wind Blast, he adds Unbreakable Justice. The new skill fusion has succeeded. The fused skill has been generated. His intelligence has increased by 10, which deals 320% of his attack power to a target. That can be up to 6 manas away. Damage range is a 2-meter radius around the target. Mana cost is 400 and cooldown time is 100 seconds. Shin created a brand new skill. The spider falls on its back, and not that it can't move. Shin finishes it off as the option. Effect of Best Gauntlets has been activated, and his attack is dealt twice, with obtaining 387,500 experience. His overall level has risen up and he is now at level 86. Shin gets super excited and finally celebrates his victory by screaming in enjoyment. On the other hand, Piero, the Saharan Empire's strongest knight, an ex-captain of the Red Knight, stands at the edge of a mountain, looking at the scenario, thinking the guy he means Shin single-handedly killed a canyon spider, and he himself hasn't seen this in ages. Piero thinks that he may be rough around the edges, but his abilities grow each time he defeats an opponent. He realizes he has finally found his agent of revenge. From Asma fell Unfortunately, that's where the story ends for now. If you liked this video, feel free to support me on Patreon.